A daycare worker noticed 8-year-old twin sisters always hiding food in their pockets and asked them why. When she heard the answer, she broke down in tears. Maya Rodriguez pulled into the staff parking lot of Sunshine Valley Daycare Center just as the digital clock on her dashboard flipped to 11:30 a.m. She was early for her afternoon shift, as usual. The pale November sun cast long shadows across the playground where the morning group was enjoying their final hour of outdoor time before lunch. She watched the children from her car for a moment, breathing in the ritual of observation that had become second nature during her 7 years as a childcare worker. The center itself was housed in a converted Victorian home, its cheerful yellow siding and bright blue door standing out against the more subdued colors of suburban Oak Ridge, Connecticut. A wooden sign with rainbow-colored letters announced the center's name, swinging gently in the crisp autumn breeze. The large oak trees that gave the town its name were shedding their leaves across the playground, creating a golden carpet that the children delighted in kicking up as they ran. Maya grabbed her insulated lunch bag and the box of art supplies she'd purchased over the weekend. Her supervisor had approved her proposal for expanded afternoon art activities, acknowledging that Maya had a special touch with the quieter children who didn't gravitate toward the more boisterous playground games. 7 years at Sunshine Valley had earned her a reputation for connecting with the children others found difficult to reach. "There she is," called out Diane, the center's director, as Maya pushed through the front door. "Our resident art therapist has arrived." Maya laughed, setting down her supplies on the reception counter. "Not officially certified yet, but I'm getting there. 3 more classes to go." Diane, a woman in her 50s with salt and pepper hair always neatly pulled back in a bun, smiled warmly. "Those credits are just formalities. You've had the instinct since day one." Maya appreciated the vote of confidence, though she knew the certification would make a real difference in her ability to help the children she worked with. At 32, she had finally found her true calling after drifting through several unfulfilling jobs in her 20s. "Any special cases I should know about today?" Maya asked, falling into their daily routine of information exchange before the shift change. Diane's expression shifted subtly. "Actually, yes. You know the Bennett twins? I think we should talk about them in my office." Maya nodded, following Diane down the hallway decorated with children's artwork. The Bennett twins, Lily and Emma, had started attending the after-school program about 3 months ago. Identical in appearance with their light brown hair typically arranged in matching braids, they were notably reserved compared to the other 8-year-olds. Maya had been gradually trying to draw them out, but progress had been minimal. In the privacy of her small office, Diane gestured for Maya to take a seat. Jennifer noticed something strange yesterday during afternoon snack. She said the twins were putting food in their pockets again. "Again?" Maya asked, leaning forward slightly. "Has this happened before?" "Apparently it's been going on for weeks," Diane replied, a furrow appearing between her brows. Jennifer thought they might just be saving treats for later, but yesterday she saw Emma wrapping a whole sandwich in napkins before slipping it into her jacket. When Jennifer asked what she was doing, both girls clammed up completely. Maya considered this information. Kids that age often go through phases with food. Maybe they're trading items with friends at school. That's what Jennifer thought initially, but these two don't seem to have many friends. They're always together, rarely interacting with the other children. Diane sighed, leaning back in her chair. "There's something else. Their father was late picking them up last night, nearly 30 minutes after closing. When he arrived, he looked exhausted, apologized profusely, said his delivery route ran long." Maya knew from the children's registration forms that Mark Bennett was a single father. The twins' mother had passed away, though she didn't know the details. "Do we know anything else about their home situation?" "Not much. Mr. Bennett is very private. When he registered them 3 months ago, he mentioned that he'd recently moved to Oak Ridge for a job opportunity. The emergency contact is a neighbor, not a family member." Diane paused. "I'm not suggesting anything improper is happening, but we should pay attention," Maya finished for her. "I'll keep an eye on them. They usually attend my art group in the afternoons. Maybe I can build some trust there." "Exactly why I wanted to talk to you," Diane said with a nod. You have a way of getting children to open up. Just tread carefully. If there is something going on, we don't want to make the girls uncomfortable. The conversation shifted to other matters, the upcoming Thanksgiving activities, supply orders, a parent committee meeting scheduled for the following week. But Maya's mind kept returning to the Bennett twins and their hidden food. It might be nothing, she told herself. Children developed all sorts of peculiar habits. Yet something about this particular behavior tugged at her instincts. After their meeting, Maya headed to the staff room to prepare for the afternoon session. The center provided care for around 40 children, split between the morning preschool group and the after-school program for elementary students. The Bennett twins would arrive with the other school-age children around 3:15 p.m. when the district buses dropped them off. Maya used the quiet hour before lunch duty to organize her new art supplies. Modeling clay, watercolor pencils, and special textured paper she'd found on sale. Her mind wandered to her own childhood, to memories of her mother working double shifts as a nurse's aide while Maya and her brother looked after each other. They'd never had much money for extras, but her mother had always made sure there was food on the table, even if it meant diluting the milk with water to make it last longer. A sharp pang of hunger interrupted her thoughts, reminding her that she hadn't eaten since breakfast. As she unwrapped her sandwich, Maya made a mental note to bring extra snacks for her art group that afternoon. Sometimes, a small gesture of sharing food could open doors that direct questions couldn't. The elementary school buses arrived with their usual cacophony of screeching brakes and excited children's voices. Maya stood at the center side entrance, clipboard in hand, checking off names as the children filed in. First the kindergartners, who required a bit more supervision during the transition, then the older students who moved with the confidence of established routine. The Bennett twins were among the last to enter, holding hands as they always did. Identical in their navy blue coats and matching pink backpacks, they would have been difficult to tell apart if not for the small butterfly clip that Emma wore in her hair, the only concession to individuality that Maya had observed. "Good afternoon, Lily." "Good afternoon, Emma." Maya greeted them with a warm smile. "Hello, Ms. Rodriguez." They responded in unison, their voices soft. "We're doing some special art projects today. Would you like to join us after snack time?" The girls exchanged glances, a silent communication that Maya had noticed they often engaged in. After a moment, Lily, or at least Maya was fairly certain it was Lily, nodded. "Yes, please." "Wonderful. We'll be in the sunroom. Go ahead and get your snacks first." The twins moved on, still hand in hand, toward the cafeteria area where afternoon snacks were being distributed. Maya finished her check-in duties and followed, curious to observe what Diane had mentioned earlier. The cafeteria was a bright, open space with round tables sized for children. A long counter at one end served as the distribution point for snacks. Today it was apple slices, cheese cubes, and wheat crackers with milk or water to drink. Maya positioned herself near the counter, offering assistance while keeping an eye on the Bennett twins. The girls went through the line quietly, accepting their portions with polite thank yous to Mrs. Patel, the kitchen assistant. They took their trays to the far corner of the room, sitting side by side at a table otherwise unoccupied. Maya noticed that their movements seemed more tense than those of the other children, who were chatting animatedly and immediately diving into their food. Instead of eating right away, the twins surveyed the room carefully, their eyes moving from one staff member to another. When they thought no one was watching, Emma slipped several crackers into the pocket of her cardigan. Lily followed suit with apple slices, carefully wrapping them in a napkin first. Maya pretended not to notice, turning to help a kindergartner who had spilled his milk. When she glanced back at the twins, they were eating the remaining food on their trays slowly, methodically, as if making sure nothing would be wasted. The behavior struck Maya as deliberate and practiced. It wasn't the impulsive action of children saving a favorite treat for later. There was something almost solemn in their careful preservation of the food, something that spoke of necessity rather than preference. After snack time, Maya set up her art station in the sunroom, a glass-enclosed porch at the back of the building that caught the afternoon sun beautifully. She arranged the new modeling clay, tempera paints, and various papers on the large central table, creating an inviting space for creativity. Children began to filter in as they finished their snacks. To Maya's satisfaction, the Bennett twins arrived early, their interest in the colorful supplies evident despite their reserved demeanor. Today we're going to create our own special places, Maya explained once all 8 children in her group had settled around the table. It could be somewhere you've been that you love, somewhere you'd like to go, or somewhere that exists only in your imagination. You can use any of the materials here to bring your special place to life. The children reached eagerly for supplies, already discussing their ideas. One boy announced he would create a rocket ship to Mars, while a girl began sketching what looked like a princess castle. The Bennett twins, however, remained still, watching the others. "It's okay to take your time," Maya said, kneeling between their chairs. "Sometimes ideas need a little while to grow." Emma looked at Lily, then back at Maya. "Can we work together?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," Maya replied. "Your special place can be one you share." This seemed to relieve some tension. The girls selected a large sheet of blue construction paper and began to work with the watercolor pencils. Their heads bent close together, occasionally whispering to each other. Maya circulated among the children, offering encouragement and technical assistance where needed. She deliberately saved the twins for last, giving them time to become absorbed in their work before approaching again. When she finally made her way back to them, Maya was struck by what they had created. On the blue background, the girls had drawn a small house with extraordinary detail. Curtains in the windows, flowers along a walkway, even a mailbox with tiny numbers. In the house's center, they had drawn a large table surrounded by 3 chairs, laden with an abundance of food. "This looks wonderful," Maya said, genuinely impressed by their artistic skill. "Is this your special place?" The twins looked at each other again. After a moment, Lily spoke. "It's our old house, before Mommy went to heaven." The simple statement, delivered without drama, nonetheless pierced Maya's heart. "I see," she said gently. "And that's a beautiful table you've drawn. Is that for a special meal?" Emma traced her finger along the edge of the drawn table. "That's for when Daddy didn't have to work at night, when we all ate together." Maya noticed that the table in their picture was indeed piled high with food, more like a feast than an ordinary dinner. There were platters heaped with what looked like turkey, bowls overflowing with fruits and vegetables, and what appeared to be a cake in the center. "That looks delicious," Maya said, choosing her words carefully. "Do you have favorite foods that you like to eat at home now?" The question seemed to make the girls uncomfortable. They exchanged another of their silent communications before Lily answered, "We eat whatever Daddy brings home." Maya sensed she was approaching a boundary and decided not to push further. "Well, your picture is beautiful. The details are amazing. Would you like to add some color with the paints?" The diversion worked, and the twins eagerly accepted the watercolors Maya offered. She moved on to check on the other children, her mind working through what she had observed. The twins' artwork, their careful hoarding of food, their comment about eating whatever Daddy brings home. The pieces were beginning to form a picture that worried her. By the time the art session ended, Maya had formulated a plan. She would need to build more trust with the Bennett twins before directly addressing her concerns. She decided to start a storytelling group the following week. Stories about sharing, about asking for help, about different kinds of families. Sometimes, children found it easier to relate to difficult topics through the safe distance of fictional characters. As the children cleaned up and prepared for the next activity period, Maya overheard a snippet of conversation between the twins as they washed paintbrushes at the sink. "Do you think we have enough for tonight?" Emma whispered. "I don't know," Lily replied. "Maybe we should ask for more crackers before we go." "But Ms. Patel already saw us take extra. We can say we're still hungry." Maya pretended to focus on organizing papers, but her concern deepened. The girls weren't simply saving treats for later, they were systematically collecting food as if preparing for scarcity. The remaining hours of the afternoon passed quickly. Maya noted that the twins did indeed request additional crackers before the final activity period, which Mrs. Patel provided without question. These 2 disappeared into pockets rather than being eaten immediately. At 5:45 p.m., 15 minutes before closing, Maya was helping with final cleanup when Diane approached her. "Mr. Bennett just called," Diane said quietly. "He's running late again. Traffic accident on the highway." He apologized profusely and said he should be here by 6:30 at the latest. "Can you stay with the twins until then?" "Of course," Maya replied. "We'll wait in the reading corner." Most of the other children had already been picked up, the center gradually growing quieter as the day wound down. Only the Bennett twins remained, sitting patiently in the reading corner with books they weren't actually reading, their backpacks already zipped and ready by their feet. Maya joined them, bringing a picture book she thought might interest them. "Your dad called to say he'll be a little late," she explained. "Traffic problems. But he's on his way. Would you like me to read to you while we wait?" The girls nodded, setting aside their books. Maya settled into the oversized armchair, and to her surprise, the twins sat on either side of her, pressing close as if seeking warmth. As Maya read the story, a gentle tale about a family of rabbits preparing for winter, she felt Lily relax against her arm. The physical contact seemed to soothe both girls, and Maya wondered how much affection they received at home. A single father working long hours would have little time for cuddles and bedtime stories. "Ms. Rodriguez?" Emma said when the story ended. "Yes, Emma? Why do some people have lots of food and some don't?" The question, coming out of nowhere, caught Maya off guard. She took a moment to consider her response, aware that this might be an opening to a deeper conversation. "That's a very thoughtful question," she began. "People have different amounts of money to spend on food. Some jobs pay more than others, and some families have more expenses, like medical bills or housing costs. Our daddy works all the time," Lily said, "but sometimes the food still runs out." Maya's heart constricted. "That must be hard," she said gently. "Does that happen often?" The twins exchanged their characteristic glance. "Only on the hungry days," Emma finally said, as if this explained everything. "What are the hungry days?" Maya asked, keeping her tone conversational despite the alarm bells ringing in her mind. Lily shrugged. "When the cabinet is empty. Daddy says it's just for a little while until payday." Maya was formulating her next question when the center's doorbell rang, announcing Mark Bennett's arrival. The twins immediately straightened, a wariness returning to their expressions. "That must be your dad," Maya said, helping them gather their belongings. "Thank you for waiting so patiently." Mark Bennett was a tall man with the same light brown hair as his daughters, though his was cut short and showing early signs of gray at the temples. Despite the November chill, he wore only a thin jacket over his delivery company uniform. Deep circles beneath his eyes spoke of chronic exhaustion. "I'm so sorry for the delay," he said, his voice strained. "There was a 5-car pileup on I-84. Thank you for staying late with them." "It's no problem at all," Maya assured him. "The girls are wonderful company." At the mention of his daughters, Mark's expression softened. He knelt down, opening his arms, and the twins rushed to hug him. "There are my princesses," he said, embracing them tightly. "Ready to go home?" Maya watched the interaction carefully. There was genuine love there, no doubt about that. Mark Bennett clearly adored his daughters, and they him. Whatever difficulties the family was facing, emotional neglect didn't appear to be among them. As the Bennetts prepared to leave, Maya made a split-second decision. "Mr. Bennett," she said, "I'm starting a new storytelling group next week. Lily and Emma seem very interested in books. Would it be all right if they joined?" "Call me Mark, please," he replied, straightening. "And yes, that sounds fine. They love stories." He glanced at his watch. "We should get going. Still have to make dinner." "Of course," Maya said. "Oh, one more thing. We're updating our emergency contact forms. Do you have a minute to check if your information is current?" It was a small fabrication, but it would give her a chance to verify their address and perhaps gain additional insights into the family's situation. Mark looked at his watch again but nodded. "Sure, but it'll have to be quick." Maya led him to the reception desk, pulling out a blank emergency contact form and a pen. As Mark filled it out, she noticed his hands, calloused and chapped from work, with a healing cut across one palm. "You mentioned dinner," Maya said casually. "Do the girls have any food allergies we should update in our records? We're planning some cooking activities for the holidays." "No allergies," Mark replied, his attention on the form. "They're not picky eaters either, which is a blessing. That's helpful. Some children can be so particular at this age." Mark finished the form and handed it back. "My girls know to be grateful for what they have," he said, a note of pride in his voice. "Their mother taught them that." Maya sensed an opening. "They mentioned their mother today during art. They drew your old house, with a big family dinner." A fleeting expression of pain crossed Mark's face. "Caroline loved cooking for us. Always made holidays special." He paused, then added in a lower voice, "It's been 2 years, but they still talk about her meals." "I'm very sorry for your loss," Maya said sincerely. Mark nodded, then called to his daughters who were waiting by the door. "Come on, girls. Time to go." As the Bennett family departed, Maya watched through the window as they walked to an older model sedan parked at the curb. The twins climbed into the back seat, still holding hands, while their father placed their backpacks carefully in the trunk. There was a moment when Mark stood alone, shoulders slumped with what looked like the weight of the world, before straightening and getting into the driver's seat. Maya returned to her desk, reviewing what she had learned. There was no definitive evidence of severe neglect or abuse. Quite the contrary, Mark Bennett clearly loved his daughters and was doing his best to care for them. But the signs of financial struggle were difficult to ignore. The thin jacket in November, the exhaustion, the twins' careful hoarding of food, and their casual reference to hungry days. Food insecurity could take many forms, from the occasional missed meal to chronic hunger. Maya had seen it before in her work with children, though usually the signs were more obvious: extreme thinness, lethargy, explicit requests for food. The Bennett twins were neither underweight nor overtly malnourished, but their behavior suggested they had experienced enough scarcity to develop coping mechanisms. Maya pulled out a fresh notebook and began documenting her observations. This wasn't a situation for immediate intervention. No laws were being broken. No children were in imminent danger. But it was a family in need of support, and Maya was determined to find a way to provide it without undermining Mark Bennett's dignity as a parent. The question of how to proceed weighed on her mind as she gathered her belongings and prepared to leave for the day. Direct offers of assistance might be rejected out of pride. Involving official channels too hastily could do more harm than good. She would need to move carefully, building trust with both the twins and their father. As Maya drove home through the darkening streets of Oak Ridge, she thought about her own childhood, about the times her mother had sent her and her brother to school with carefully packed lunches despite having little food at home, about the neighbors who sometimes accidentally made too much dinner and brought over the extras, about the teacher who had started a weekend backpack program without ever singling out the children who needed it most. There were ways to help that preserved dignity. Maya just needed to find the right approach for the Bennett family. She decided to continue her gentle questioning through art and storytelling sessions, to create more opportunities to connect with Mark during pickup times, and to consult with Diane about program-wide initiatives that might benefit all families experiencing hardship without targeting anyone specifically. Most importantly, she would watch and listen more carefully to what the twins were trying to tell her through their behavior. Children often communicated their needs in ways adults failed to recognize. The food in the pockets was just the beginning of the story. Maya turned into her apartment complex, mind still churning with possibilities. Tomorrow she would bring extra snacks, not just for her art group, but specifically chosen with the Bennett twins in mind. Shelf-stable, easily portable foods that wouldn't raise eyebrows if they disappeared into pockets. It was a small gesture, but it was somewhere to start. She parked her car and gathered her things, the weight of responsibility settling firmly on her shoulders. The Bennett twins had inadvertently entrusted her with their secret. Now it was up to her to find a way to help without betraying that trust. The next afternoon, Maya arrived at Sunshine Valley with renewed purpose and a bag of granola bars, dried fruit packets, and cheese crackers, all individually wrapped and easy to slip into pockets. She had spent much of the night researching local resources for families experiencing food insecurity, from food pantries to assistance programs, filing the information away for when the right moment presented itself. The twins arrived with the after-school group, still holding hands, still quieter than their peers. Maya greeted them warmly, noticing the slight dark circles under their eyes that suggested a restless night. During snack time, Maya observed them more closely. The pattern repeated: careful surveillance of the room, strategic wrapping of food items, discreet placement into pockets. Today, they managed to secure several cheese cubes and a handful of grapes in addition to their usual crackers. For the art session, Maya had prepared a different kind of activity. Today, she announced to her group, "We're going to create story boxes. These are special containers that hold the important parts of a story we want to tell." She distributed small cardboard boxes she had collected and painted white, along with various decorative materials: markers, stickers, small fabric scraps, and pictures cut from magazines. First, think of a story you want to tell. It could be about something that happened to you or something you imagine. Then, decorate your box to show what that story is about. Finally, we'll find or create small objects to put inside the box that represent important parts of your story. The children began working enthusiastically, some already declaring what their stories would be about: a birthday party, a trip to the beach, a favorite pet. The Bennett twins, however, hesitated, examining their box with uncertainty. Maya approached them quietly. "It's okay if you're not sure what story to tell yet. You can start by decorating the box and see what story emerges." Lily looked up at her, those solemn eyes searching Maya's face. "Can our box be about a secret?" The question caught Maya off guard. "Of course," she said after a moment. "Some of the best stories begin with secrets." This seemed to satisfy the twins, who began selecting materials with new purpose. Maya moved among the other children, offering assistance and encouragement, but kept returning to observe the twins' progress. They had chosen a color scheme of dark blues and purples for the outside of their box, creating what looked like a night sky with silver star stickers scattered across it. When Maya returned toward the end of the session, the twins were carefully placing small items inside their completed box. A paper napkin folded into a tiny square, a cracker wrapped in tissue paper, a drawing of what appeared to be a refrigerator with nothing inside it. "May I see what you've created?" Maya asked gently. The twins exchanged glances before Lily slowly pushed the box toward her. Maya sat down between them, examining the night sky design with appropriate admiration. "It's beautiful," she said. "Can you tell me about your story?" "It's about the hungry days," Emma whispered, "and how we help Daddy not be sad about them." Maya's heart constricted, but she kept her expression neutral. "I'd like to hear more about that, if you want to share." Lily reached into the box and pulled out the drawing of the empty refrigerator. "Sometimes when Daddy opens this, there's nothing inside. He gets a worry line here." She touched her own forehead, mimicking a furrowed brow. "He thinks we don't see, but we do. So we save food," Emma continued, indicating the wrapped cracker. "From school and from here. We hide it in our special place at home. For the hungry days," Maya said softly, echoing their phrase. Both girls nodded solemnly. "That's very thoughtful of you," Maya said, choosing her words carefully. "Does your daddy know you save food?" Another exchange of glances. "No," Lily finally admitted. "It's our secret. He would feel bad." "Sometimes," Emma added, "we put food on his plate when he says he's not hungry. We pretend it's extra we don't want." The image of these 8-year-old girls secretly feeding their father, understanding even at their young age that his not hungry claims were self-sacrifice, made Maya's throat tighten with emotion. "You take very good care of each other," she managed to say. "That's what families do. But there are people who can help families when they have hungry days. People whose job it is to make sure everyone has enough food." The twins looked skeptical. "Daddy says we don't take handouts," Lily said with the certainty of a child repeating an often-heard phrase. "It's not handouts," Maya explained. "It's neighbors helping neighbors. Like if your friend fell down on the playground, you'd help them up, right? That's what communities do. They help each other when someone is having a hard time." Before the conversation could continue, Another child called for Maya's assistance with a glue mishap. By the time she returned, the twins had closed their story box and were helping clean up the art supplies. "Ms. Rodriguez?" Emma said as they prepared to move to the next activity. "Can we keep our box here? We don't want Daddy to find it." "Of course," Maya replied. "It will be safe in my art cabinet." The twins nodded, satisfied, and joined the line of children heading for the playground. Maya carefully placed their story box on a high shelf in her supply cabinet, her mind racing with the implications of what she had learned. The situation was clearer now, though no less concerning. The Bennett family was experiencing periodic food insecurity, with Mark Bennett apparently skipping meals to prioritize feeding his daughters. The twins, perceptive and resourceful, had developed their own coping strategy through food hoarding. They were protecting their father's pride as much as their own hunger. Maya knew her next steps would require delicacy. Confronting Mark directly could backfire, making him defensive or, worse, leading him to withdraw the twins from the center out of embarrassment. Yet doing nothing was not an option. She decided to start with the twins themselves, building on the trust they had begun to show her. The story box activity had opened a door, and Maya intended to keep that door open through continued creative engagement. For the remainder of the afternoon, she made sure to distribute her special snacks during the outdoor play period, casually offering them to all the children but ensuring the Bennett twins each received several items. As she had anticipated, most of these disappeared into pockets rather than being eaten immediately. When 6 p.m. approached, Maya volunteered to supervise the last few children waiting for pickup. She wanted another opportunity to observe Mark Bennett and perhaps find an opening for conversation. He arrived on time this evening, looking marginally less exhausted than the day before. The twins ran to him as usual, receiving his warm embrace with evident joy. "How was your day, princesses?" he asked, kneeling to their level despite his obvious physical fatigue. "We made a story box," Lily told him. "And played freeze tag," Emma added. "That sounds wonderful." He looked up at Maya with a grateful smile. "Thanks for looking after them. They always tell me how much they enjoy your art activities." "They're very creative," Maya replied. "Actually, I wanted to ask if you'd be interested in participating in our family art night next Friday. We're encouraging parents to come create alongside their children." It was an idea Maya had formulated only moments ago, but she could develop it properly with Diane's approval. Family involvement events were always encouraged, and this one would serve multiple purposes, giving Mark Bennett an opportunity to engage with his daughters in a supportive environment, allowing Maya to observe their family dynamics more closely, and potentially creating a relaxed context for discussing resources. Mark hesitated. "I usually work Friday evenings. We're running it from 5 to 7 o'clock, Maya improvised. "Even if you could come for the last half hour, the girls would love it. We'll have refreshments too." She saw him weighing the decision, glancing at his daughters' hopeful faces. "Please, Daddy?" the twins asked in unison. "I'll see if I can switch shifts with someone," he finally agreed. "No promises, but I'll try." The twins beamed, and Maya felt a small surge of victory. It was a tentative first step, but an important one. "Wonderful," she said. "I'll send home a flyer tomorrow with all the details." As the Bennett family left, Maya watched them walk to their car. The twins skipped alongside their father, chattering with more animation than Maya had ever observed at the center. Mark listened attentively, one hand on each girl's shoulder, his earlier exhaustion seemingly lightened by their enthusiasm. The scene confirmed what Maya already believed. This was a family bonded by love, struggling not with emotional connection but with material resources. The solution wouldn't be found in parenting classes or family counseling, but in practical support that acknowledged their dignity while addressing their needs. Maya turned back to her closing duties with renewed determination. The story box had revealed pieces of a larger narrative, a narrative she was now committed to understanding fully, and, if possible, helping to rewrite. That evening, as she updated her notes on the Bennett family, Maya reflected on the twins' revelation about their special place at home where they hid food. Children often created such caches when food security was uncertain. It was an adaptive response, a way of establishing some control over an unpredictable situation. The fact that the twins were also attempting to feed their father, recognizing and responding to his self-sacrifice, spoke to their emotional intelligence and the strong bonds within their family. Maya closed her notebook, a plan forming in her mind. She would proceed on multiple fronts, continuing to build trust with the twins through art and storytelling activities, creating opportunities for positive engagement with Mark, researching community resources that could be presented as universal offerings rather than targeted charity, and consulting with Diane about center-wide initiatives. The Bennett twins had entrusted her with their secret. In their childish wisdom, they had recognized something in Maya that made them feel safe, perhaps an intuitive understanding that she wouldn't judge their circumstances or betray their confidence. Now it was up to Maya to prove them right. A week passed, during which Maya carefully observed the Bennett twins while implementing the first phases of her plan. The extra snacks she brought disappeared reliably into pockets. Her storytelling sessions, featuring characters who helped each other through difficult times, seemed to resonate with the girls. The art activities she designed, particularly those focused on safe places and helping hands, elicited small but significant revelations about their home life. She learned that they lived in a small apartment on the north side of town, that their father worked for 2 different delivery companies to make ends meet, that the hungry days typically came at the end of the month when bills were due. The twins spoke matter-of-factly about these realities, without self-pity or complaint, as if periodic food scarcity were simply a normal part of childhood. Through casual conversations during pickup times, Maya also learned more about Mark Bennett. He had moved the family to Oak Ridge 8 months ago for better job opportunities after the factory where he'd worked in their hometown closed down. His wife, Caroline, had passed away from breast cancer 2 years earlier, leaving medical bills that had depleted their savings. He spoke briefly but warmly about her, his voice softening whenever he mentioned the girl's mother. Maya noted that despite his evident exhaustion, Mark always arrived clean and presentable, his uniform neat if somewhat worn. The twins likewise were always clean, their hair neatly braided, their clothes modest but well-maintained. This was a father doing his absolute best with limited resources, his pride perhaps the biggest obstacle to accepting help. The family art night that Maya had spontaneously proposed became a reality with Diane's enthusiastic support. Flyers went home with all the children, and refreshments were arranged. Substantial enough to constitute a light dinner, Maya made sure of that. When Friday evening arrived, the center was transformed with string lights and displayed artwork from all the children. 6 activity stations were set up throughout the rooms, each offering a different creative project that parents and children could complete together. Maya stationed herself near the entrance, greeting families as they arrived and directing them to the activities. She kept one eye on the door, hoping that Mark Bennett would manage to rearrange his work schedule as promised. By 6:30 p.m., with only 30 minutes remaining in the event, Maya was beginning to lose hope when the Bennett family finally arrived. Mark still wore his delivery company uniform but had clearly made an effort to freshen up. The twins, spotting Maya immediately, waved with more enthusiasm than she had ever seen from them at the center. "We thought you couldn't make it," Maya said, genuinely relieved as she approached them. "Got lucky," Mark replied, a hint of pride in his voice. "Finished my route early and Tony agreed to cover the first hour of my evening shift." He looked around at the transformed center. "The girls have been talking about this all week." "Well, I'm glad you're here. We have plenty of activities to choose from, and refreshments in the main room." Maya knelt to the twins' level. "What would you like to do first?" "Can we show Daddy our storybox?" Lily asked. Maya hesitated, remembering the contents of that particular creation and the twins' request to keep it at the center, away from their father's eyes. "How about we start with something new? There's a family portrait station I think you'd enjoy." The twins seemed satisfied with this suggestion, and Maya led the Bennett family to a table covered with various art supplies. The activity involved creating a collaborative portrait, with each family member contributing elements using different materials. "I'll leave you to get started," Maya said. "If you need anything, I'll be circulating around the room." She moved away, giving them space but keeping them in her peripheral vision. Mark Bennett sat between his daughters, listening intently as they explained the activity. Despite his obvious fatigue, he engaged fully with them, helping Lily open a package of colored pencils and admiring the marker drawing Emma had already begun. Throughout the next 20 minutes, Maya observed the Bennett family while assisting other participants. She noticed how the twins constantly looked to their father for approval, how his face lit up with genuine pride at their creative efforts, how the three of them seemed to communicate through small touches and shared glances that spoke of deep connection. Whatever material hardships they faced, emotional poverty was not among them. When Maya announced that refreshments were available, she made a point of mentioning that there was plenty to go around, and that families were welcome to enjoy a full meal. She had worked with Mrs. Patel to ensure the spread was substantial. Sandwiches, fruit platters, vegetable trays with dip, pasta salad, and an array of cookies and brownies. We also have take-home containers for leftovers, Maya added casually. We hate to see food go to waste. She watched as Mark filled plates for his daughters, taking only a small portion for himself despite the abundance available. The twins, however, followed Maya's earlier observation, slipping extra sandwich quarters onto their father's plate when he was distracted. As the event wound down, Maya approached the Bennett family again. They had finished their portrait, a cheerful scene showing the three of them in what appeared to be a park, with a faintly drawn-forth figure that Maya suspected represented Caroline Bennett watching over them. "This is beautiful," she said sincerely. "You've captured so much joy." "The girls did most of it," Mark said, but his contribution was evident in the carefully drawn trees that framed the scene. "Dad drew the best trees ever," Emma declared. "He used to draw pictures for our lunchboxes," Lily added, "when we had a house." An awkward silence followed this innocent remark. Mark's expression tightened slightly, and Maya could see him struggling to maintain his composure. "Artists are always handy to have in the family," Maya said smoothly, redirecting the conversation. "Mr. Bennett, before you go, I wanted to mention that we're starting a new program here at Sunshine Valley. We've partnered with the local food co-op for a weekend nutrition initiative." Mark's posture immediately stiffened. "Oh, yes. They're providing fresh produce and staples for our families to take home each Friday. It's part of a grant they received to promote healthy eating in the community. Everyone's encouraged to participate. It actually helps the co-op meet their grant requirements for distribution numbers." It was a carefully constructed explanation, designed to present the offering as something that would benefit all parties rather than as charity. The program was real. Maya had spent the week setting it up with Diane's help, connecting with the local food co-op and a nearby church's food pantry. What she didn't mention was that it had been created specifically with families like the Bennetts in mind. "That's nice," Mark said noncommittally. "But we don't." "Can we, Daddy?" Emma interrupted, her eyes wide. "They might have those orange apples you like." Cara oranges," Lily corrected her sister. "Mommy used to get them special." Mark's resistance visibly wavered at the mention of this connection to his late wife. "We'll see," he said, which the twins seemed to interpret as a positive response, given their excited smiles. "The first distribution is next Friday," Maya continued. "Just a small bag for each family this time, but it should grow as the program develops." She paused, then added, "We're also looking for volunteers to help with packing and distribution, if you ever have time. Many hands make light work, as they say." This last addition was deliberate, offering Mark a way to contribute, to feel like a participant rather than just a recipient. Pride was a powerful force, especially for a parent struggling to provide. "I could maybe help with heavy lifting," he said after a moment. "Not sure about my schedule, but any time you can give would be appreciated," Maya assured him. "The girls could help too. We involve all the children in age-appropriate tasks." As other families began to depart, Maya guided the Bennetts toward the refreshment table, where Mrs. Patel was already packaging leftovers. "Please take some food for the weekend," she said, handing Emma a container. "We always prepare too much for these events." Mark hesitated, but didn't object when the twins eagerly began selecting items under Mrs. Patel's encouraging supervision. Maya noticed that they chose foods that would keep well, sandwiches, cookies, apples, rather than the more perishable options. "Your daughters are wonderful," Maya said quietly to Mark as they watched the twins. "They're so considerate and resourceful." "They've been through a lot," he replied, his voice low. "More than kids their age should have to deal with. But they're strong, like their mother." "They obviously adore you," Maya said. "The way they light up when you arrive, how they talk about you during activities. It's clear how much you mean to them." Mark swallowed hard, his composure briefly cracking. "I'm trying my best," he whispered. "It's just harder than I expected, doing this alone." It was the first admission of struggle Maya had heard from him, a tiny crack in the fortress of pride and self-reliance he had built around himself. "No one should have to do it all alone," she said gently. "That's what community is for." Before he could respond, the twins returned with a container packed with food, proudly showing their father their selections. "Look, Daddy, enough for tomorrow too," Lily announced. "And we got extra cookies," Emma added with a conspiratorial smile. Mark managed to smile, ruffling their hair affectionately. "Looks like we're all set for a picnic lunch tomorrow then." As the Bennett family prepared to leave, Maya helped the twins gather their artwork and made sure Mark had information about the new food distribution program. She walked them to the door, where Mark paused. "Ms. Rodriguez, Maya," he said, seeming to choose his words carefully. "Thank you for making the girls feel so welcome here. It means a lot." "They're very special children," Maya replied. "And please, call me anytime if you need anything. That's what we're here for." She watched them walk to their car, the twins skipping ahead while Mark followed more slowly, the container of food clutched carefully in his hands. Even from a distance, Maya could see the weight of responsibility in his shoulders, the pride that both sustained and constrained him. The evening had confirmed what Maya already suspected. The Bennett family's hungry days were real, not the product of childish imagination or exaggeration. Mark's reluctance to accept help, his minimal portion at the refreshment table, his emotional reaction to Maya's gentle probing, all pointed to a man struggling to provide for his children while maintaining his dignity as a father. Maya returned to the center to help with cleanup, her mind already formulating next steps. The weekend nutrition program would provide immediate, practical assistance without singling out the Bennetts. The storytelling and art therapy sessions would continue to give the twins a safe space to express their feelings about their situation. And Maya would keep building a relationship with Mark, gradually earning his trust and helping him see that accepting support wasn't a failure of parenting, but a different kind of strength. As she packed away art supplies, Maya found the Bennett twins' story box on her shelf. She opened it carefully, looking again at the small treasures inside. The wrapped cracker, the drawing of the empty refrigerator, the folded napkin. Such simple objects, yet they told a powerful story of childhood resilience, of sister supporting sister, of children trying to protect their father from his own worry. Maya added one more item to the box before closing it, a small note card on which she had written, "You are not alone. We are here to help." Whether the twins would understand the message completely didn't matter. The act of writing it cemented Maya's commitment to this family, who had inadvertently shared their struggle with her. The Bennett twins had been hiding food in their pockets, a small act of self-preservation in an uncertain world. Now it was Maya's turn to help fill those pockets, and their home, with not just food, but also hope and the knowledge that they were part of a community that cared. The following Wednesday, Maya was supervising outdoor play when she noticed Lily Bennett sitting alone on a bench at the edge of the playground. The girl's usual shadow, her twin sister Emma, was nowhere to be seen, an unusual separation that immediately caught Maya's attention. Leaving the other children under the watchful eye of her colleague Jennifer, Maya approached Lily, who was staring intently at her shoes. "May I join you?" Maya asked, gesturing to the empty space on the bench. Lily nodded without looking up. "I don't often see you without Emma," Maya observed gently. "Is everything okay?" Lily shrugged, a gesture so small it was barely perceptible. "She's in the bathroom." "Ah, I see." Maya settled beside her, not pushing the conversation, simply offering her presence. After a moment of silence, Lily spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. Ms. Rodriguez, are you a mommy? The unexpected question caught Maya off guard. No, she answered honestly. I don't have children of my own. But you know how to do mommy things, Lily continued, like braiding hair and making food and telling stories. I suppose I do, Maya agreed, wondering where this line of thinking was leading. Lily's next question came after another long pause. Do you think, could someone forget how to be a mommy? Maya's heart constricted as she began to understand. Are you thinking about your mother? She asked softly. The little girl nodded, still focused on her shoes. I'm forgetting her. The sound she made when she laughed. How her hands felt. A single tear slid down Lily's cheek. Emma remembers more than me. She says I'm not trying hard enough. Maya gently placed her arm around Lily's small shoulders. Oh, sweetheart, that's not how memory works. Sometimes certain details fade, especially when we're very young when something happens. It doesn't mean you're not trying, and it certainly doesn't mean you loved your mother any less. But what if I forget everything? Lily looked up finally, her eyes swimming with tears. Daddy put away all the pictures because they made him sad. I'm scared I won't remember her face. The revelation about the photographs explained something that had been puzzling Maya, the absence of a mother figure in the twins' artwork, despite their frequent mentions of her. Memory is a funny thing, Maya said carefully. Sometimes, we might not remember specific details like the sound of someone's voice, but we remember how they made us feel. And sometimes, we carry pieces of them with us in ways we don't even realize. Like what? Lily asked, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Well, you might have your mother's smile, or her kindness, or her way of looking at the world. Those are all ways of remembering, too. Lily considered this, her brow furrowed in concentration. Daddy says I have her eyes. See? That's a special way of keeping her with you always, Maya said. And you know what else? It's okay to ask your dad to talk about her, to tell you stories about what she was like. That might help you remember. And it might help him too, even if it makes him a little sad at first. He doesn't like talking about her, Lily said, shaking her head. He gets the worry line and sometimes goes to his room. Maya nodded, understanding the difficult position both the children and their father were in, each trying to protect the other from additional pain, but in doing so, perhaps making the healing process more difficult. Would you like to make a memory book? Maya suggested. We could use art supplies to create pages about your mother. Things you do remember, things your sister and father have told you about her, things you imagine about her. It could be just for you. A special place to keep your memories safe. Lily's expression brightened slightly. Could Emma help too? Of course. Memory books are often better when we create them together with people who share our memories. Emma emerged from the building then, scanning the playground until she spotted her sister. She hurried over, her expression concerned until she saw that Lily appeared calm, if slightly tearful. Is everything okay? Emma asked, automatically taking her sister's hand. Ms. Rodriguez is going to help us make a memory book, Lily explained. About Mommy. Emma looked at Maya with a mixture of surprise and caution. Really? If you'd like to, Maya confirmed. It would be just for you too. A special place to collect memories and stories about your mother. The twins exchanged one of their silent communications, a look that contained an entire conversation invisible to outsiders. Would Daddy be mad? Emma finally asked. I think he would understand that this is something important for you, Maya said. But we can talk to him about it first if you prefer. No, both girls said quickly. Then Emma continued. It could be just for us. A sister's secret. Maya hesitated, not wanting to encourage the twins to keep secrets from their father, but also recognizing their need for space to process their grief in their own way. It's not really a secret, she clarified. It's more like a special project. But it's up to you whether you want to share it with your dad right away or wait until you feel ready. This compromise seemed to satisfy them. As the other children began lining up to return indoors, Maya stood, offering a hand to each twin. We can start on Friday during art time, she said. Think about what you'd like to include in your book. Maybe favorite memories, or things your mom liked, or questions you have about her. The twins nodded solemnly, rejoining their peers with their hands still linked. Maya watched them go, her heart heavy with the realization that the Bennett family's struggles extended beyond financial hardship. They were also navigating the complex terrain of grief, each in their own way, Mark by removing painful reminders, Emma by clinging fiercely to memories, Lily by fearing their loss. Maya's determination to help this family deepened. The weekend nutrition program would address their immediate physical needs, but emotional support was equally important. The memory book project might provide the twins with a safe outlet for their feelings about their mother, while potentially opening a door for more open family discussions about their loss. As Maya followed the children inside, she made a mental note to gather supplies specifically for this project. A special album with colorful pages, photographs of various women that the twins might use as representations of their mother, materials for creating textured memory pages that engaged multiple senses. She would create a framework that allowed the girls to explore their grief in a constructive way, validating their feelings while helping them build a connection to their mother that couldn't be lost. The conversation with Lily had revealed another piece of the puzzle that was the Bennett family, a piece that explained some of the shadows Maya had observed in the twins' behavior. Their food hoarding wasn't just about physical hunger. It was also, perhaps, about filling an emotional void left by their mother's absence, about creating security in a world that had already proven itself unreliable. Maya returned to her desk, adding these new insights to her notes on the Bennett family. The full picture was emerging gradually, a grieving father working multiple jobs to support his daughters, twin girls developing coping mechanisms for both physical scarcity and emotional loss, a family unit bound by love but struggling under the weight of circumstances beyond their control. The hungry days the twins had spoken of were real in multiple senses. Days without enough food, yes, but also days starved of maternal love, of financial security, of the carefree childhood that should be every child's right. Maya closed her notebook, more committed than ever to supporting this family's journey toward healing. Both the physical hunger that had first caught her attention and the deeper emotional hungers that lay beneath. Friday arrived with a steady rain that confined the after-school program to indoor activities. Maya had prepared the art room for both the general session and the special memory book project she had promised the Bennett twins. When the school buses delivered the children, rain-dampened and more energetic than usual due to their confinement, Maya noticed immediately that something was different about the Bennett twins. They entered without holding hands, an unprecedented sight, and Emma's face bore the tight, closed expression of a child struggling to contain strong emotions. Lily followed a step behind, her eyes red-rimmed and swollen. "Good afternoon," Maya greeted them, concerned by their appearance. "Would you like to join me in the art room? I've set up our special project." "We can't do it anymore," Emma said flatly. "Lily told Daddy about it." Maya knelt to their level, keeping her voice gentle. "What happened?" Lily's lower lip trembled. "I asked Daddy if we could see pictures of Mommy for our memory book. He got really mad and said we shouldn't be talking about her all the time." "He wasn't mad at you," Emma corrected, with the air of someone who had already explained this multiple times. "He was just sad. But now we can't do the project." Maya considered this development carefully. "I understand that your dad might have strong feelings about this. Grief affects everyone differently. But maybe we could still create something together. Not necessarily about your mom specifically, but about feelings and memories in general." The twins exchanged uncertain glances, their usual unity fragmented by this disagreement. "Could we at least try?" Maya suggested. "If it doesn't feel right, we can stop and do something else." After a moment, Lily nodded, followed reluctantly by Emma. Maya led them to a small table she had set up in a quiet corner of the art room, somewhat separated from where the other children would be working. "Today I thought we could create what's called a feelings map," Maya explained, bringing out colored paper, markers, and a variety of textured materials. "It's a way of showing different emotions and how they connect to people and experiences in our lives." She demonstrated by drawing a simple outline of a person in the center of a paper. "This represents you," she explained. Then, You can use different colors, shapes, and materials to show different feelings and connect them to memories or people. Maya had deliberately chosen an activity that could allow the twins to process their emotions about their mother without explicitly creating a memory book that might upset their father. A feelings map could include memories of their mother but would have a broader focus that might feel less threatening. The twins worked on their maps with unusual separation, Emma creating hers independently while Lily frequently looked to Maya for guidance. Their different approaches to the activity reflected their different ways of processing grief. Emma methodical and self-contained, Lily seeking external validation and support. As they worked, Maya circulated among the other children but kept returning to check on the twins. During one such check-in, she noticed that Emma had created a complex map with distinct sections separated by thick black lines. One section was filled with warm colors and labeled before, while another used cooler blues and grays and was marked after. There was a small, separate area surrounded by what looked like a fortress of sharp-edged shapes labeled simply hungry. Lily's map was less structured but more textured. She had used cotton balls, fabric scraps, and crinkled tissue paper to create a tactile representation of her emotional landscape. At the center was not a single figure but three holding hands, with a fourth figure floating above them, surrounded by soft yellow tissue paper like a halo. "Would you like to tell me about your maps?" Maya asked when they both seemed to be finishing. Emma shook her head, but Lily nodded. "This is us," she said, pointing to the three central figures. "And this is Mommy watching us from heaven." She indicated the haloed figure, then pointed to a dark area at the bottom of her map made of rough sandpaper. "This is the scared place. It's when the food is gone and Daddy looks worried and the apartment feels cold even when it's not." The simple description conveyed so much about the family's circumstances. Not just the physical reality of food insecurity, but the emotional atmosphere it created. The way Lily connected her father's worry with her own sense of safety. "And what's this?" Maya asked gently, indicating a brighter area where Lily had used green and blue tissue paper. "That's the daycare," Lily said. "It's warm and there's always food and nobody looks worried." The contrast between Lily's perception of home and the daycare center confirmed what Maya had suspected, that Sunshine Valley had become a place of security for the twins, a reliable constant in their otherwise uncertain world. "Emma, would you like to share anything about your map?" Maya asked, turning to the other twin who had been listening silently. After a moment's hesitation, Emma pointed to the fortress-like area on her map. "This is where I keep the scared feelings so they don't get out and make Daddy sad." The insight into Emma's emotional strategy was revelatory. Her reticence, her protective attitude toward both her sister and father, her careful control all stemming from a child's understanding that her own feelings might be a burden to others. "That's a big job," Maya said softly, "keeping feelings inside like that." Emma shrugged, but Maya could see the slight tremble in her lower lip. "Somebody has to be strong. Lily cries too much and Daddy has to work." "You know," Maya said, choosing her words carefully, "being strong doesn't always mean hiding your feelings. Sometimes it takes more strength to share them." "But it makes people sad," Emma insisted, a rare flash of emotion breaking through her composed exterior. "Yes, sometimes it does," Maya acknowledged. "But keeping everything inside can make you sad too. In a different way. Feelings need somewhere to go, just like..." She searched for a comparison that would resonate with the twins. "Just like water needs somewhere to flow. If you block it completely, it builds up pressure until it breaks through anyway." The analogy seemed to connect, particularly with Emma, who stared at her map thoughtfully. "Sometimes I get really angry for no reason," she admitted quietly. "Like yesterday with Lily. I didn't mean to yell." "That might be some of those blocked feelings finding a way out," Maya suggested. "What if we think about safer ways to express those feelings? Places where they can flow without hurting anyone?" The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of other children at their table, curious about the textured materials the twins were using. Maya smoothly transitioned to a group discussion about emotions and art, allowing the Bennett twins to retreat into their usual shared silence. She noticed, however, that they sat closer together than when they'd arrived, their momentary discord apparently resolved by their parallel exploration of feelings. As the art session concluded, Maya helped the twins store their feelings maps in individual folders. "Would you like to keep these here at the center?" she asked, anticipating that they might not want to bring them home given their father's reaction to the memory book idea. Both girls nodded, and Maya placed the folders on her special shelf. "We can add to them whenever you like," she told them. "Feelings maps are never really finished because our feelings are always changing." The remainder of the afternoon passed without incident, the twins rejoining the larger group for a story session and indoor games. By the time Mark Bennett arrived to pick them up, they appeared to have recovered their usual equilibrium, greeting their father with their customary enthusiasm. Maya approached Mark as the twins collected their belongings. "Mr. Bennett, Mark, do you have a moment?" He nodded, though she noticed the wariness in his expression. The twins had clearly mentioned the memory book discussion to him. "I just wanted to check if you're planning to participate in our weekend nutrition program," Maya said, deliberately avoiding the more sensitive topic. "The first distribution is this afternoon." "Oh, right." Mark shifted uncomfortably. "Actually, I was meaning to ask, is there a way to volunteer without—" Maya understood immediately. "Without being seen as a recipient?" "Absolutely. We have several parents who help with distribution and then take a bag home as part of their volunteer compensation. Would that work better for you?" The relief on Mark's face was evident. "Yes, that would be good. The girls mentioned you needed help with heavy lifting." "We do," Maya confirmed. "If you have time now, we're just setting up in the multipurpose room. The girls could help too. We need people to arrange the produced displays." It was a small victory, finding a way for Mark to accept assistance while preserving his dignity through contribution. As she led the Bennett family to the multipurpose room, Maya reflected on the complexity of pride, how it could be both a barrier to receiving help and a crucial element of self-respect that deserved protection. In the multipurpose room, volunteers were already arranging tables and unpacking boxes of fresh produce and staple items. Maya introduced Mark to the team, emphasizing his offer to help with the heavier items. She watched as he seamlessly integrated into the work, his initial discomfort giving way to the satisfaction of useful contribution. The twins, meanwhile, enthusiastically joined a group of children arranging apples and oranges in attractive displays. Maya noticed that Emma maintained her protective watch over Lily, but with less tension than earlier in the day. As the distribution began and families arrived to collect their food bags, Maya observed Mark's interactions with other parents. Initially reserved, he gradually relaxed as he realized that many families from diverse economic circumstances were participating. The program had been carefully designed to avoid stigma, presented as a community health initiative rather than a food assistance program, open to all families regardless of need, with multiple ways to participate either as volunteers, recipients, or both. By the time the event concluded, Mark was helping break down tables with an ease that suggested growing comfort. Maya approached with a pre-packed bag of groceries. "This is for your volunteer work today," she said, handing it to him with a smile. "We're so grateful for your help." It wasn't charity now but compensation, a subtle but significant distinction that allowed Mark to accept the food with a nod of thanks rather than discomfort. "The girls really enjoyed helping," he said, watching as the twins proudly carried smaller bags of produce toward him. "It's good for them to learn about giving back to the community." "They're natural helpers," Maya agreed. "In fact, I've been meaning to mention how impressed I've been with their empathy and resilience. They're extraordinary children." Mark's expression softened with pride. "They are, aren't they? Despite everything. They're doing okay." There was a question in his statement, a parent's need for reassurance that his children were indeed thriving despite difficult circumstances. "More than okay," Maya confirmed. "They're thoughtful, kind, and remarkably attuned to others' feelings." She hesitated, then added gently, "They're also processing some big emotions about their mother. I know that must be incredibly difficult for all of you." Mark's face tightened slightly, but he didn't immediately shut down the conversation as Maya had feared he might. "Lily mentioned you talked about a memory project. he said after a moment. I didn't handle that well. It's still raw, you know? Caroline's been gone 2 years, but sometimes it feels like yesterday. Grief doesn't operate on a timetable, Maya said, and everyone processes it differently. The girls are at an age where they're trying to make sense of their loss, to hold on to memories that might be fading. Mark nodded, watching his daughters as they helped the last volunteers sweep up. Emma remembers more. She was always more observant, even as a toddler. But Lily, she was so young when Caroline got sick. I worry that she'll forget her mother completely. That's a common concern, Maya said. If you're open to it, there are gentle ways to help preserve those memories without making it too painful. Robert hesitated, then walked over to open the door. Jim. Robert. The older man nodded. Saw your lights on. Thought I'd check if you're okay. There were police cars here earlier. The simple query broke through Robert's isolation. No, he admitted, his voice rough. I'm not okay, Jim. Nothing's okay. Jim took in Robert's haggard appearance and the untouched whiskey on the table. Want to talk about it? Or want company while you don't talk about it? The unexpected offer of companionship, uncomplicated, undemanding, was almost more than Robert could bear. They took Ethan, he said, the words catching in his throat. Child Protective Services. They say Vanessa's been hurting him. Badly. And I didn't know. I didn't see it. Understanding dawned in Jim's eyes, followed by a sorrow that held no judgment. As a retired emergency room nurse, he'd seen his share of family tragedies. Come on, he said gently. Let's sit on the deck. Fresh air helps when the world's closing in. They settled into the wooden Adirondack chairs that faced the small backyard where Ethan had once played, before the nightmares, before the stomachaches that kept him home from school, before the quiet withdrawal that Robert had attributed to normal development. I should have known, Robert said after a long silence. There were signs. God, there were so many signs. Jim didn't contradict him or offer empty reassurances. Probably, he agreed quietly. But beating yourself up won't help Ethan now. What matters is what you do next. I don't even know if I'll get him back, Robert admitted, the fear that had been lurking beneath his guilt finally surfacing. The hearing's tomorrow. They'll decide about temporary custody. What if they think I'm unfit? What if they're right? You're his father, Jim said simply. You made mistakes. Now you fight for the chance to do better. He paused, then added, I know something about this, Robert. My daughter went through a rough patch years ago. Drugs. Lost custody of my grandson for 6 months. Hardest time of our lives. But she got clean, did the work, and they're both thriving now. The parallel wasn't exact, but the underlying message resonated. Families could heal, could rebuild after devastating failures. It offered a thin thread of hope in the darkness that had engulfed Robert's world. I don't know what to do, he confessed. Every instinct says to protect Vanessa, to find some explanation that makes this all a mistake. We've been together for almost 2 years. I thought. He trailed off, the weight of his misplaced trust too heavy to articulate. The heart's a stubborn thing, Jim acknowledged. But when it comes down to it, your job is to protect your child. Everything else, including your marriage, comes second. The blunt assessment cut through Robert's confusion with the clarity of undeniable truth. Whatever complicated feelings he had for Vanessa, whatever explanations or justifications might exist, his primary responsibility was to Ethan. Had always been to Ethan. You're right, he said, the words both painful and liberating. I just hope I haven't realized it too late. They sat in companionable silence as the night deepened around them. The distant sound of traffic a reminder of a world continuing its normal rhythms while Robert's had been irreparably altered. Tomorrow would bring the court hearing, the first step in a process that would determine whether he could rebuild what had been broken. His son's trust, his family's future, his own sense of what it meant to be a father. For now, though, there was just the cool October night, the steady presence of a neighbor who'd seen enough of life's tragedies to know that judgment was less useful than simple human connection, and the painful but necessary recognition of terrible truths that could no longer be denied. As midnight approached, Jim finally stood to leave. "Try to get some sleep," he advised. "Tomorrow will be hard enough without exhaustion making it worse." Robert nodded, knowing sleep would likely prove elusive but appreciating the practical counsel. "Thanks, Jim, for coming over, for listening. That's what neighbors do," Jim replied with a slight shrug. "And Robert, kids are resilient, more than we give them credit for. Ethan's going to need you to be strong now, but don't count him out. With the right support, children can recover from almost anything." The words offered a fragile comfort as Robert finally made his way upstairs to the bedroom he'd shared with Vanessa, now haunted by questions about who she really was and how he could have been so blind. He couldn't bear to sleep there tonight. Instead, he grabbed a blanket and pillow and made his way to Ethan's room. Sitting on the edge of his son's neatly made bed, surrounded by carefully arranged possessions that now seemed more like props in a performance of normalcy than evidence of a happy childhood, Robert finally allowed himself to weep, for Ethan's pain, for his own failures, and for the long, uncertain road ahead. Chapter 3. Crossroads. The Millfield County Courthouse stood at the center of town, its red brick facade and white columns a testament to small-town permanence amid changing times. On this Wednesday morning, a fine mist hung in the air, not quite rain but enough to blur the edges of buildings and soften the harsh lines of the world. People hurried up the wide stone steps, collars turned up against the damp chill, their breath forming small clouds that dissipated into the October gloom. Inside Family Court Room 3, the atmosphere was one of hushed tension. Unlike the imposing formality of criminal proceedings, family court operated with a more subdued gravity, the stakes no less high, but the setting designed to be less intimidating, particularly for the children whose futures were decided within these walls. Judge Patricia Keating, a woman in her early 60s with steel-gray hair and attentive eyes behind rimless glasses, had presided over Millfield County Family Court for nearly 2 decades. She'd seen thousands of cases, custody disputes, adoption proceedings, termination of parental rights, but never grew callous to the human drama unfolding before her bench. Each case represented lives at crossroads, families in crisis, children caught in circumstances beyond their control. This morning's emergency hearing for the temporary placement of Ethan Wheeler was one of 5 cases on her docket, but she'd reviewed the preliminary reports with particular attention, noting the detailed documentation provided by Eleanor Morris and Detective Donovan. The photographs of Ethan's injuries had caused her to pause her review, closing the file for a moment to steel herself against the familiar surge of controlled anger that such evidence invariably provoked. Now, as the courtroom filled for the 9 a.m. session, she observed the various parties taking their places with the practiced eye of someone who'd learned to read volumes in posture, proximity, and eye contact. Robert Wheeler sat beside his hastily retained attorney, Michael Fernandez, a respected family law practitioner known for his pragmatic approach. Robert's rumpled shirt and the dark circles beneath his eyes spoke of a sleepless night. He clutched a manila folder as if it contained life-saving instructions, his gaze darting nervously around the room. On the opposite side, Assistant District Attorney Sophia Martinez conferred quietly with Detective Claire Donovan and Melissa Chun from DCFS. The 3 women formed a unit of professional solidarity, their expressions serious but not unkind. Maya had been careful to maintain professional boundaries while still nurturing this emerging connection. Mark Bennett clearly needed adult friendship as much as his daughters needed food security. "He's isolated," Maya said simply. "Working 2 jobs leaves little time for social connection. And the twins are his whole world. It makes sense that he'd gravitate towards someone who cares about them too." Diane nodded, her teasing expression softening. "You're right, of course. And the family dinner idea is excellent, regardless of any particular family's needs. Let's plan it for next month. Give us time to secure donations and promote it properly." As they finalized details for the new initiative, Maya's thoughts returned to the Bennett twins. Their feelings maps had grown more elaborate over subsequent art sessions, with both girls gradually expressing more complex emotions through color and texture. Emma's fortress walls had become less rigid, with small openings appearing, what she called feeling doors, that she could choose to open when it felt safe. Lily had added more specific memory elements to her map, often asking Maya questions about how memories worked and why some stayed strong while others faded. Neither girl had mentioned their mother directly to Maya since the day Lily had asked about forgetting her. Maya wasn't sure whether Mark had followed through on his tentative agreement to bring out some photographs, but she'd noticed subtle changes in how the twins referenced their life before. Fewer strained silences, more casual mentions of when Mommy was here in their conversations. Progress, Maya reminded herself. Slow but steady progress on multiple fronts. That afternoon, the November sky darkened early, heavy clouds threatening rain as the school buses arrived. Maya stood at her usual post, checking children in as they entered the center. The Bennett twins emerged from their bus looking unusually animated, their typical reserve replaced with excitement as they spotted Maya. "Ms. Rodriguez," Emma called out, breaking their usual pattern of quiet greetings. "Look what we got." She held up a slightly worn stuffed rabbit with long floppy ears. "Daddy found our memory box in the storage unit," Lily explained as they approached, her eyes bright. "It has Mommy's things and our baby toys." Maya's heart leapt at this development. "That's wonderful," she said warmly. "I'd love to hear more about your special rabbit." "His name is Flopsy," Emma said, cradling the toy with surprising tenderness from a child who typically maintained such careful control over her emotions. "Mommy gave him to us when we were 3. He got lost when we moved." "Not lost," Lily corrected. "Daddy put him in the box because he was sad. But now he's not so sad anymore, so we can have our things back." The implication of this simple statement was profound. Mark Bennett had taken a significant step in his grief journey, retrieving mementos he had previously found too painful to keep in the apartment. Maya felt a surge of hope. Emotional healing was often marked by such seemingly small but deeply meaningful actions. "Did your father find other special things in the box?" Maya asked as she guided the twins toward the center's entrance. The girls nodded in unison. "Pictures," Emma said. "Lots and lots of pictures. Daddy said we could put some in frames." "And Mommy's special necklace," Lily added. "The one with 3 hearts, for Daddy and me and Emma. He said maybe we can wear it on our birthdays." "That sounds like a beautiful way to keep your mother's memory close," Maya said, genuinely moved by Mark's apparent change of heart regarding family mementos. The twins continued chattering about their rediscovered treasures as they stored their backpacks and prepared for afternoon snack. Their animation attracted attention from the other children, several of whom gathered around to admire Flopsy and hear the twins' excited explanations. Maya observed with quiet satisfaction as Emma and Lily, normally so isolated from their peers, blossomed under the positive attention. Later, during art time, the twins asked if they could add to their feelings maps. Lily incorporated a small drawing of Flopsy, placing him near the representation of her mother. Emma created a new section on her map labeled Memory Box in careful letters, filling it with small symbols: a heart for the necklace, a square for photographs, a tiny rabbit for Flopsy. "Daddy said we can look at the pictures whenever we want now," Emma informed Maya as she worked. "He's going to put some on the wall in our bedroom." "That's a big change," Maya observed gently. "How does it make you feel?" Emma considered the question with her characteristic seriousness. "Happy," she finally decided, "but also a little scared." "Scared? Can you tell me more about that?" The girl's brow furrowed as she searched for words. "What if I look at the pictures too much and get sad like Daddy was? Or what if I don't look at them enough and forget anyway?" The complexity of Emma's concern, balancing the desire to preserve memories against the fear of being overwhelmed by grief, demonstrated remarkable emotional awareness for an 8-year-old. Maya chose her response carefully. "Those are really thoughtful questions, Emma. I think finding the right balance is something even grown-ups struggle with sometimes. Maybe it's okay to just try and see how it feels. You can always look at the pictures less if it feels too sad, or more if you're worried about forgetting." Emma nodded, seemingly satisfied with this practical approach. "Daddy said something like that. He said we can make new traditions with Mommy's memory, even though she's not here anymore." The phrase struck Maya as particularly insightful, exactly the kind of framing that could help a child integrate the loss of a parent into their ongoing life narrative. She wondered if Mark had come to this understanding on his own, or if he had perhaps sought resources on helping children through grief, as she had gently suggested. "Your dad is very wise," Maya said. "Making new traditions is a beautiful way to keep your mom's memory alive." As the twins continued working on their feelings maps, Maya circulated among the other children, her mind processing this new development. Mark Bennett's decision to retrieve the family mementos represented a significant shift in his approach to grief, from avoidance to active engagement, from protecting his daughters from painful memories to helping them integrate those memories into their lives. Maya wondered what had prompted this change. Had their conversation about memory and grief resonated more deeply than she'd realized? Had the gradual relief of financial pressure through the weekend nutrition program created emotional space for Mark to address these deeper issues? Or had the twins themselves, with their direct questions and obvious need for connection to their mother, finally broken through his protective barriers? Whatever the catalyst, the timing felt meaningful. The family dinner initiative she and Diane had just discussed that morning would provide another layer of support just as the Bennetts were beginning to open up emotionally. Maya made a mental note to ensure that the event included some element that acknowledged different family structures, including those shaped by loss. When pickup time arrived, Maya found herself watching the entrance with unusual anticipation. She was curious to see Mark, to observe firsthand any changes in his demeanor that might correspond with the twins' reports. When he arrived early again, she was struck by the visible difference in his bearing. Though still showing signs of physical fatigue, he carried himself with a lightness she hadn't seen before, as if some invisible burden had shifted slightly. "Daddy!" the twins called in unison when they spotted him, rushing over with Flopsy clutched in Emma's hand. "We showed everyone our rabbit." Mark knelt to embrace his daughters, his smile genuinely reaching his eyes. "That's great, princesses. I bet everyone loved him." "Everyone said he's super soft," Lily reported. "And Ms. Rodriguez said we could add him to our feelings maps," Emma added. In the memory section, Mark glanced up at Maya, who had approached quietly. "They've been talking about these feelings maps for weeks. I'd love to see them sometime." "Of course," Maya replied, pleasantly surprised by his interest. "They're quite remarkable. Both girls have a strong sense of visual expression." A brief but comfortable silence fell between them, broken by Mark clearing his throat slightly. "Listen, I wanted to thank you for what you said about memories, about helping the girls maintain that connection to their mother. I've been doing a lot of thinking and, well, you were right. They need that link to Caroline, even if it's difficult for me sometimes." The admission clearly cost him some effort, but his sincerity was unmistakable. Maya felt a warm rush of professional satisfaction. This was exactly the kind of breakthrough that made her work meaningful. "That's a profound gift you're giving them," she said softly. "And perhaps yourself as well." Mark nodded, his eyes momentarily distant. "I found a storage unit full of things I couldn't look at after she died. Just walked in there yesterday for the first time in almost 2 years. It was harder than I expected, but also better, somehow." "Grief isn't linear," Maya observed. "Sometimes moving forward means circling back to things we weren't ready to face before." "Exactly." Mark looked at her with surprised recognition, as if she had articulated something he had felt but couldn't name. "That's exactly it." The twins, who had been listening to this exchange with solemn attention, suddenly tugged at their father's hands. "Can Ms. Rodriguez see the pictures?" Lily asked. "We told her about Mommy's necklace." Mark hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Sure. I brought a few in the car to show Aunt Sarah this weekend. We could show Ms. Rodriguez now if she has time." Maya glanced at the clock. Technically, her shift had ended 5 minutes ago, but this moment felt too important to cut short. "I'd be honored," she said simply. As the twins excitedly led the way to the parking lot, Maya and Mark followed at a slightly slower pace. "They really trust you," Mark commented. "I haven't seen them this comfortable with an adult outside the family since before Caroline got sick." "They're extraordinary children," Maya replied, "resilient and empathetic beyond their years." "Sometimes I worry about that," Mark admitted, "that they've had to grow up too fast." take on concerns no child should have to think about. The frank acknowledgement of his daughter's premature burden touched Maya deeply. It was the first time Mark had directly referenced the impact of the family's struggles on the twins. "Children are remarkably adaptable," she said carefully. "But you're right that they've shouldered adult worries. The good news is that children can also unlearn these survival responses when their circumstances improve. As they feel more secure, they'll gradually return to more carefree behavior." Mark absorbed this with a thoughtful nod. "I've noticed some changes already. Less hoarding food in their rooms. More laughing. More typical sibling squabbles instead of that united front they maintained for so long." Maya hadn't realized Mark was aware of the food hoarding beyond what occurred at the center. His matter-of-fact reference to it suggested growing comfort with acknowledging the family's hardships. They reached Mark's car, where the twins were already waiting impatiently. He unlocked the vehicle and retrieved a small photo album from the glove compartment. "Just a few I grabbed this morning," he explained, handing the album to the twins, who opened it eagerly between them. "Look, Ms. Rodriguez," Lily exclaimed, pointing to the first photograph. "That's Mommy holding us when we were babies." The woman in the photograph had the same light brown hair as her daughters, styled in a practical shoulder-length cut. Her smile was wide and genuine. Her eyes crinkled at the corners with happiness as she cradled two infants. Maya was struck by Emma's resemblance to her mother. The same thoughtful eyes, the same slight tilt of the head. "You look just like her, Emma," Maya observed gently. The girl's eyes widened. "Really? Daddy always says Lily has her smile." "That's true too," Mark confirmed, watching over their shoulders with a complex expression. Sadness mingled with pride and love. "You each got different pieces of her." The twins turned the pages slowly, revealing more snapshots of family life. Caroline pushing the twins on swings. The whole family at what appeared to be a lakeside vacation. A Christmas morning with presents scattered around a decorated tree. "This was our house," Lily explained, pointing to a background that showed a modest but comfortable-looking living room. "Before Mommy got sick and we had to move. It was nice," Emma added. "We had a backyard with a tree swing." Mark's expression tightened slightly at these references to their former home, but he didn't withdraw from the conversation. "We had good times there," he said, his voice low but steady. "Your mom planted a garden every spring. She couldn't keep houseplants alive to save her life, but she grew the best tomatoes in the neighborhood." It was the most Maya had ever heard him speak about Caroline, and the specific detail, her paradoxical gardening abilities, painted a vivid picture of a real woman with quirks and contradictions, not just the perfect angel of the twins' limited memories. "She sounds wonderful," Maya said sincerely. "She was," Mark agreed. Then, surprising Maya, he added, "She would have liked you. Your work with the girls, how you've helped them express things I wasn't ready to hear." The compliment caught Maya off guard, warming her face. "I'm just doing my job," she demurred. "No," Mark said firmly. "You've gone far beyond that. The weekend program, the art therapy, the way you noticed things I was missing, you've made a real difference for us. Caroline would have appreciated that. She was big on community, on people helping each other through tough times." Maya wasn't sure how to respond to such directness. She was saved from having to formulate a reply by Lily, who had turned to the last page in the small album. "This is my favorite," the little girl declared, pointing to a photograph of Caroline sitting on a hospital bed, looking thin but smiling, with the twins on either side of her. "It was her last birthday. We made her cards with glitter, even though the nurses said no glitter allowed in the hospital." Maya's heart constricted at the image. A mother clearly in the late stages of illness, still mustering joy for her daughters, still creating memories even as her time grew short. Mark gently closed the album, his fingers lingering briefly on the cover. "That's enough for today, princesses. We need to let Ms. Rodriguez go home, and we need to get dinner started. Can we show her more pictures tomorrow?" Emma asked. Mark exchanged a glance with Maya, seeking her guidance. She nodded slightly, understanding the importance of this sharing for both the twins and their father. "If Ms. Rodriguez has time," he told his daughters. "Remember, She has other children to work with too. I always have time for all my students, Maya assured them. And I'd love to see more photos whenever you'd like to share them. The twins seemed satisfied with this answer. As they prepared to depart, Mark hesitated, then asked, Diane mentioned something about a family dinner event next month? The girls brought home a flyer. Yes, we're planning our first community meal on December 15th, Maya confirmed. It's an opportunity for families to connect, share experiences, maybe even build some support networks. We'll have activities for the children while parents have a chance to relax and talk. Mark nodded thoughtfully. We'll be there. Sounds nice. To be around other families, This simple commitment meant more than Mark probably realized. His willingness to participate in a purely social event, without the pretense of volunteering or helping, represented another step in his gradual reintegration into community life. Wonderful, Maya said warmly. We're looking forward to it. As the Bennett family drove away, Maya remained standing in the parking lot for a moment, processing the interaction. The photograph album, the stories about Caroline, Mark's acknowledgement of Maya's impact on the family, all represented significant movement toward healing. The food scarcity issues were being addressed through the weekend nutrition program, and now the emotional aspects of the family's struggles were beginning to shift as well. Maya walked back to the center, mentally updating her assessment of the Bennett family. They still faced challenges, financial instability chief among them, but the trajectory was decidedly positive. The twins were showing signs of typical childhood behavior emerging from beneath their protective adaptations. Mark was beginning to process his grief more openly and support his daughters in maintaining connections to their mother's memory. And Maya herself was becoming something more than just a daycare worker to this family, a trusted ally in their journey toward stability and healing. It was precisely the kind of meaningful impact that had drawn her to this profession, the ability to make a genuine difference in children's lives through consistent, thoughtful support. The following weeks brought a rhythm of small but meaningful improvements for the Bennett family. The weekend nutrition program continued successfully, with Mark now fully integrated into the volunteer team. Maya observed that the twins' food hoarding behavior diminished gradually, though they still occasionally squirreled away shelf-stable items, a lingering habit from less secure times. Mark began arriving consistently early for pickup, often spending 10 or 15 minutes chatting with Maya about the twins' activities or sharing stories from their past. These conversations revealed more about the family's history, how Mark and Caroline had met in college, their early struggles as young parents of twins, Caroline's diagnosis when the girls were just turning 6, the devastating progression of her illness over the following months. The medical bills wiped us out, Mark explained one evening as they watched the twins gathering their belongings. Cancer treatments, experimental procedures, home care toward the end. I'd had good insurance through the factory, but it still wasn't enough. By the time she passed, I was working 3 jobs and drowning in debt. Maya listened without judgment, understanding that this unburdening was part of Mark's healing process. That's an impossible situation, she said gently. You were trying to save your wife while caring for your daughters. No one could manage that perfectly. Mark nodded, his eyes distant. After she died, I sold the house to pay off the worst of the bills, but it wasn't enough. We moved 4 times in the next year, following whatever work I could find. The girls never complained, not once. They just packed their little backpacks and adjusted to each new place. These glimpses into the family's journey helped Maya understand the roots of the twins' resilience and their fierce protectiveness toward their father. They had witnessed his sacrifices, had moved through the world as a tight unit against external pressures. Their food hoarding made perfect sense in this context, not just a response to immediate scarcity but a learned behavior from years of instability. It's better now, Mark assured her, perhaps noticing her concerned expression. Moving to Oak Ridge was the right decision. The delivery company offers benefits once I've been there a year. Just a few more months. Maya had been contemplating how to broach the subject of longer-term solutions to the family's financial instability. Mark's mention of benefits provided a natural opening. That's excellent news, she said. If you're interested, there's a job fair next week at the community center. Several companies that offer immediate benefits will be there, including Merriweather Medical Supplies. I heard they're specifically looking for experienced delivery drivers for their local routes. She was careful to frame the suggestion as career advancement rather than charity, respecting Mark's pride while still offering practical support. Mark looked thoughtful. Immediate benefits would make a big difference. The girls need dental checkups, and Emma's been squinting at the television lately. Probably needs glasses like her mother did. The job fair is next Thursday evening, Maya said. We're extending our hours that night to accommodate parents who want to attend. No additional charge. I'll definitely check it out, Mark agreed. Thanks for the tip. These small victories accumulated over the weeks. Mark investigating better employment options, the twins bringing home good reports from school, the weekend nutrition program ensuring that the hungry days no longer occurred. Maya began to believe that the Bennett family was genuinely turning a corner. Then, 3 weeks before the planned community dinner, everything changed. Maya was helping a group of children with a holiday craft project when Diane appeared at the classroom door, her expression unusually grave. "Can I speak with you in my office?" she asked quietly. Maya quickly delegated supervision to her assistant and followed Diane down the hallway, a sense of foreboding growing with each step. "What's happened?" she asked as soon as the office door closed behind them. Diane sighed heavily. "Mark Bennett called. There's been an accident. Not the girls," she added quickly, seeing Maya's immediate alarm. "Mark was injured on his delivery route yesterday. A car ran a stop sign and hit his van on the driver's side." Maya felt the blood drain from her face. "How bad is it?" "Bad enough," Diane replied grimly. "Broken leg, fractured ribs, concussion. He's been hospitalized since yesterday afternoon. Apparently he didn't have emergency contacts listed at work other than the twin school and us, so there was confusion about notification." "The twins," Maya said immediately. "Where are they?" "That's why he called. They spent last night with a neighbor. Sarah something? I believe she's on their emergency contact form, but she works days and can't continue to watch them. Mark asked if we could keep them in extended care until he's released, which could be several days." He sounded desperate, Maya. The implications were instantly clear to Maya. A single father with no family support system, suddenly hospitalized and unable to work. It was the nightmare scenario for someone in Mark's precarious financial position. Not only would he lose income during his recovery, but he would likely incur additional medical expenses, all while being physically unable to care for his daughters. "Of course we'll help," Maya said without hesitation. "The twins can stay in extended care as long as needed. I can even take them home with me if necessary." The offer came spontaneously, but she realized as soon as she spoke that she meant it completely. Diane's eyebrows rose slightly. "That's extremely generous, but let's start with extended care and see what other support systems we can mobilize. I've already spoken with the board about waiving fees during this emergency." "Thank you," Maya said, genuinely grateful for Diane's immediate understanding of the severity of the situation. "Do the twins know about the accident?" "Mark said he spoke with them by phone this morning. They know he's in the hospital but probably don't understand the full implications. Sarah is dropping them off within the hour." Maya nodded, her mind already racing with preparations. "I'll make sure we have extra clothes and toiletries for them here. And I'll contact the food pantry about emergency delivery for Mark when he's released. He won't be able to attend the weekly distribution with a broken leg." "Good thinking," Diane agreed. "I'll check what other community resources might be available for temporary assistance. Mark mentioned he's only been at his job for 9 months, so he may not qualify for certain benefits yet." The gravity of the situation settled between them. A family that had been making tentative progress toward stability now faced a devastating setback. "He was so close," Maya murmured, more to herself than to Diane. "A few more months and he would have had proper health insurance, paid leave." "We'll help them bridge the gap," Diane assured her. "That's what community is for." Maya took a deep breath, centering herself. The Bennett twins would need extra emotional support to weather this new crisis. Their history of loss and instability would make their father's accident especially frightening, triggering fears of abandonment and renewed insecurity. "I should prepare the art therapy supplies," she said, focusing on practical tasks to manage her own concern. The girls will need safe ways to process this. Diane nodded in agreement. Do whatever you think best. Your rapport with them will be crucial in the coming days. Maya returned to her classroom, maintaining outward calm while making necessary arrangements. She prepared the art corner with materials specifically chosen for trauma processing, sensory items like clay and textured fabrics, soothing colors, simple activities that offered containment and control. She also gathered books about hospitals, healing, and temporary parent-child separation to have available if needed. When Sarah arrived with the twins, Maya was waiting at the entrance. The girls looked smaller somehow, their usual reserved demeanor replaced with a fragile vulnerability that tugged at Maya's heart. They wore the same clothes as the previous day, their hair unbrushed, their expressions wary and exhausted. "Ms. Rodriguez," Emma said, her voice unnaturally composed. "Daddy had an accident. He's in the hospital, but he's going to be okay." "I know, sweetheart," Maya replied gently, kneeling to their level. "Your dad called us this morning. I'm so sorry about his accident, but you're right. He will be okay, and we're going to help make sure of that." Lily's lower lip trembled. "His leg is broken, and his side hurts when he breathes. Hospitals have special doctors who know exactly how to help with broken bones and sore ribs," Maya assured her. "They'll take very good care of your dad." Sarah, a middle-aged woman who appeared equally exhausted, handed Maya a small bag. "This has their toothbrushes and a change of underwear. It was all I could grab from their apartment. Mark said you'd know about arrangements." "We do," Maya confirmed, understanding the unspoken concern about payment. "The girls will stay in our extended care program until Mr. Bennett is released. Everything has been arranged." Sarah's relief was palpable. They were so brave last night, but it was hard on them. They're worried sick about their dad. After Sarah departed, Maya guided the twins to her classroom, which was currently empty during the morning preschool outdoor time. "Are you hungry?" she asked, noticing the shadows beneath their eyes. "We can get you some breakfast before joining the other children." Both girls nodded, and Maya brought them to the kitchen where Mrs. Patel happily provided bowls of oatmeal with fruit and milk. The twins ate mechanically, without their usual careful assessment of what might be saved for later. Their focus seemed entirely internal, processing the sudden disruption to their already precarious stability. "When can we see Daddy?" Emma finally asked, pushing her empty bowl away. "I'm going to call the hospital after breakfast and find out," Maya promised. "I know your dad wants to see you as soon as possible too. Is he going to lose his job?" Lily asked suddenly, her piercing question revealing how much she understood about their family's circumstances. "Ms. Harris at our old school said her husband lost his job when he got hurt because he couldn't work anymore." The direct inquiry caught Maya off guard, but she knew the twins deserved honesty, carefully framed for their age. "Different jobs have different rules about injuries," she explained. "Your dad works very hard, and his company knows that. There are also special protections for workers who get hurt on the job. But even if there are changes with his work, we have a whole community of people ready to help your family through this challenging time." This answer seemed to satisfy Lily, though Emma remained pensive, her forehead creased with worry lines that no 8-year-old should have to wear. After breakfast, Maya helped the twins settle into the day's routine, integrating them with the morning preschool group for a story session. She noticed how they sat slightly apart from the younger children, hands linked as always, but with a new tension in their postures, alert, watchful, as if prepared for further upheaval. During her lunch break, Maya called the hospital and, after navigating a frustrating series of departments, finally reached Mark's nurse. She learned that his condition was stable, but that he would require surgery the following day to properly set his broken femur. Recovery would involve at least a week in the hospital followed by intensive outpatient physical therapy. The nurse confirmed that the twins could visit that evening during regular visiting hours. Maya relayed this information to the Bennett girls during their afternoon art session, watching relief wash over their tense features. "Can we make Daddy get well cards?" Lily asked immediately. "Of course," Maya agreed, bringing out special paper and markers. I'm going to take you to visit him after dinner today, so you can give them to him in person. As the twins worked on their cards, Maya observed subtle differences in their responses to the crisis. Emma's card was meticulous, with carefully drawn details of the hospital room as she imagined it and a disproportionately large medical chart showing steadily improving vital signs. Lily's was more emotional, featuring a large rainbow over a bed, where a stick figure with a prominent leg cast was surrounded by hearts. Rainbows mean hope, Lily explained when she caught Maya studying her drawing. Mommy always said that. After rain comes rainbows. That's beautiful, Maya said softly. Your dad will love that reminder. Throughout the afternoon, Maya coordinated with Diane about emergency arrangements for the twins' extended stay. The center would provide breakfast and dinner in addition to their usual afternoon snack. The small cot used for children who occasionally napped late would be supplemented with a second one borrowed from the community center, creating sleeping space in the quiet corner of the preschool room. Staff would rotate extended evening and early morning shifts to ensure proper supervision. By the time Maya prepared to take the twins to the hospital that evening, a comprehensive support plan was in place. What remained uncertain was Mark's long-term prognosis and how his injuries would impact the family's already precarious financial situation. The hospital visit proved both heartening and concerning. Mark was indeed stable, his leg elevated and immobilized in preparation for the next day's surgery. Despite obvious pain and the effects of medication, he made a visible effort to appear strong for his daughters, answering their worried questions with reassuring smiles. Maya hung back, giving the family privacy for their reunion while remaining close enough to intervene if the twins became overwhelmed. She watched as Mark examined their get-well cards with exaggerated enthusiasm, praising their artwork and thanking them for being so brave for Daddy. The girls, initially tearful at the sight of their father in a hospital bed, gradually relaxed as they saw that he could still talk and laugh with them despite his injuries. When visiting hours neared their end, Maya approached the bed to help gather the twins for departure. Thank you, Mark said quietly, his voice strained with more than physical pain, for bringing them, for taking care of everything. That's what we're here for, Maya assured him. The girls will be fine at the center until you're released. We've arranged everything. His expression clouded. The costs? All taken care of, Maya interrupted gently. Diane has spoken with the board. This is an emergency situation, and our scholarship fund exists precisely for such circumstances. Mark looked away, blinking rapidly. I don't know how I'll ever repay. You don't have to, Maya said firmly. Remember what we talked about? Community means supporting each other through difficult times. Right now, you need to focus on healing so you can go home to your daughters. That's your only job. He nodded, unable to speak further as emotion overcame him. Maya turned to the twins, who were watching this exchange with solemn attention. Time to say goodnight to your dad, she told them gently. He needs rest before his surgery tomorrow, and will come back to visit afterward. The girls carefully hugged their father, mindful of his injuries, before reluctantly following Maya from the room. In the hospital corridor, Emma suddenly stopped. Ms. Rodriguez, she said, her voice unnaturally steady. Is Daddy going to die like Mommy did? The direct question sent a chill through Maya. Of course the twins would make this connection. Their only experience with hospitals was associated with their mother's terminal illness and death. No, sweetheart, Maya answered firmly, kneeling to look both girls in the eyes. Your dad's injuries are very different from your mom's illness. Broken bones heal. No, sweetheart, Maya answered firmly, kneeling to look both girls in the eyes. Your dad's injuries are very different from your mom's illness. Broken bones heal. The doctors know exactly how to fix them, and your dad is going to get better and come home to you. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Promise. Maya hesitated only momentarily before nodding. I promise. His injuries are serious, but they're the kind that people recover from completely. This seemed to reassure both girls, at least temporarily. They walked hand in hand beside Maya to the parking lot, their small shoulders still bearing the weight of worry no child should have to carry. Back at the daycare center, Maya helped the twins settle into their temporary sleeping arrangements. She had brought extra blankets from home and arranged them on the cots to create a cozy, nest-like environment. Mrs. Patel had prepared special comfort food for dinner, macaroni and cheese with apple slices on the side, and both girls ate with more appetite than they had shown earlier in the day. "We've never had a sleepover at school before," Lily observed as Maya helped them into pajamas borrowed from the center's emergency clothing supply. "It's a special arrangement just for you," Maya explained, brushing Lily's hair and rebraiding it for the night. "And guess what? I'm staying late too, so I'll be right here if you need anything during the night." This was an arrangement Maya had insisted upon, volunteering to take the first overnight shift despite Diane's concerns about burnout. Maya knew that the twins' sense of security was fragile. A familiar presence during this first night of separation from their father might make all the difference in their adjustment. As she tucked them in, Emma asked in a small voice, "Can you leave the fish tank light on? We don't like the dark." "Of course," Maya agreed, switching on the small light that illuminated the classroom's aquarium. The gentle bubbling of the filter and the soft blue glow created a soothing atmosphere in the otherwise darkened room. "Ms. Rodriguez?" Lily murmured sleepily. "Can you tell us a story? Daddy always tells us stories at bedtime." Maya settled into a chair between their cots. "What kind of story would you like?" "A true one," Emma requested. "About someone who got hurt but then got better." The specific request revealed so much about the twins' current fears. Maya thought for a moment, then began. "When I was about your age, my brother fell out of a tree and broke his arm in 2 places. She told the story of her brother's accident, hospitalization, and complete recovery, emphasizing the excellent care he received and how, within months, he was climbing trees again. Though my mother made him promise to be more careful. The tale seemed to reassure the twins, who listened with heavy-lidded attention until sleep finally claimed them. Maya remained awake for some time, watching over the sleeping children and reflecting on the precariousness of their situation. Today's crisis had thrown into sharp relief just how vulnerable the Bennett family remained, despite the progress of recent weeks. One accident, one medical emergency, was all it took to destabilize the delicate balance Mark had been maintaining. What would happen after Mark's hospital stay? How would a single father with no family support manage young children while recovering from serious injuries? How would he cover rent and utilities with no income? The weekend nutrition program addressed only one aspect of the family's needs. This new development required a more comprehensive response. Maya pulled out her phone and began researching resources, medical leave provisions, temporary disability benefits, emergency housing assistance, medical bill negotiation services. She compiled a list of options to discuss with Diane in the morning, determined that the support system they had begun building for the Bennett family would expand to meet this new challenge. The twins slept fitfully, occasionally whimpering in their sleep. Each time, Maya moved quietly to their sides, providing gentle reassurance until they settled again. By morning, she was exhausted but resolved. The Bennett family needed more than temporary assistance. They needed a sustainable path forward. Mark's surgery went well, according to the hospital update Maya received the following day. The orthopedic surgeon had successfully repaired his fractured femur, inserting a metal rod and screws to stabilize the bone. His concussion symptoms were already improving, and with intensive physical therapy, he could expect to walk without assistance within 2 to 3 months. The recovery timeline sent a wave of concern through Maya. 2 to 3 months of limited mobility would mean at least that long without income from his delivery job. Even if his employer held his position, which was uncertain given his relatively brief tenure, how would the family survive financially in the interim? These questions weighed heavily as Maya helped the twins prepare a new round of get-well cards and pictures for their evening hospital visit. Emma, typically so reserved, had become even more withdrawn, responding to questions with single words or silent nods. Lily, by contrast, had grown clingy, following Maya around the classroom and bursting into tears at minor frustrations. They're showing classic stress responses. Jennifer, Maya's assistant, observed quietly during outdoor play. Emma's shutting down, Lily's regressing. It's textbook trauma reaction. Maya nodded grimly. Their sense of safety has been shattered again. Just when they were starting to feel secure. "You're doing everything possible," Jennifer assured her. "And they trust you. That's huge." Trust. The word resonated with Maya. The Bennett twins did indeed trust her, had trusted her with their secret food hoarding, with their feelings about their mother, and now with their fears about their father. That trust created both opportunity and responsibility. She could help them navigate this crisis, but only if she honored their trust by being completely authentic with them. That evening, before taking the twins to visit Mark, Maya sat with them in the quiet corner of the classroom. "I want to talk with you about your dad," she began gently. "The doctors say his surgery went very well, and his leg is going to heal properly. But it's going to take some time, a few months, before he can go back to driving for work." The twins exchanged one of their silent communications before Emma asked, "Where will we live? If Daddy can't work, we can't pay for our apartment." The directness of the question confirmed Maya's belief that honesty was necessary. These children had experienced enough disruption to recognize the pattern and anticipate the consequences. "That's a very smart question," Maya acknowledged. "And the truth is, we're figuring that out. But I promise you this. You will have a safe place to live with your father while he recovers. Many people are working together to make sure of that." "Like the food program?" Lily asked, making the connection to previous community support. "Exactly like that," Maya confirmed. "Remember how I told you that communities help each other during hard times? This is one of those times, and there are many resources available specifically for families in situations like yours." Emma remained skeptical. "We moved a lot after Mommy died. Different apartments, different schools." "I know," Maya said softly, "and that was really hard. But this time, things are different. Your dad has established himself here in Oak Ridge. He has a job they want him to return to when he's better. You're enrolled in school and daycare. There are programs designed exactly to help bridge difficult periods like this one." She wasn't sure if her explanation was truly reassuring to the twins, but at least she had acknowledged their fears rather than dismissing them with false promises. Children who had experienced instability were finally attuned to adult evasions. Honesty, even about uncertainty, was more comforting than platitudes. The hospital visit that evening brought better news. Mark was more alert after his successful surgery, though still in considerable pain. He greeted his daughters with genuine smiles, admiring their artwork and asking about their day at the center with convincing enthusiasm. When the twins were temporarily distracted by a kind nurse offering juice and crackers, Mark turned to Maya with naked fear in his eyes. "I got a call from my landlord," he said quietly. "I missed explaining about the accident, and now rent is 3 days late. He's threatening eviction if I don't pay by Friday." Maya had anticipated this development. "The Community Action Agency has an emergency housing fund for exactly this situation," she told him. "I've already contacted them, and they're processing assistance to cover your rent for the next 3 months while you recover." Mark stared at her in disbelief. "Just like that? I don't have to." "You qualify based on your situation," Maya explained. "It's not charity. It's a safety net program designed precisely for temporary crises like yours. The case manager will call you tomorrow to confirm some details, but she assured me there's no issue with approval." Mark closed his eyes briefly, his relief palpable. "I don't know how you're doing all this," he murmured. "Finding exactly what we need, making these connections." "It's my job," Maya said simply, though they both knew her efforts had long since extended beyond professional obligation. "More importantly, it's working. Your family will get through this intact. I promise." When the twins returned with their snacks, Maya observed a subtle but significant change in Mark's demeanor. Some of the tension had left his face, allowing his natural warmth toward his daughters to shine through more clearly. He listened with genuine interest to their detailed description of their sleepover at the daycare center, laughing at Lily's impression of Mrs. Patel's strict instructions about brushing teeth. "Ms. Rodriguez is taking really good care of us," Emma reported solemnly. "She's staying with us at night and everything." Mark's gaze met Maya's over his daughter's head, a look of profound gratitude that needed no verbal expression. She nodded slightly in acknowledgement, understanding the depth of trust he was placing in her. A trust born of necessity but no less meaningful for that. The following days established a new routine. The twins spent their days at the center, participating in regular activities while receiving extra emotional support through art therapy and special one-on-one time with Maya. Each evening, Maya or another staff member took them to visit Mark, whose recovery progressed steadily. The Community Action Agency not only covered the family's rent but also provided grocery delivery service and assistance with utility bills. A week after the accident, the hospital announced that Mark would be discharged the following day. This news, while positive, created new challenges. His apartment was on the third floor of a building without an elevator, impossible to navigate with his current mobility limitations. Additionally, he would require assistance with daily tasks and childcare while continuing his recovery. They're recommending a short-term rehabilitation facility, Mark explained to Maya during the twins' visit, his frustration evident. 2 more weeks away from the girls. I can't do that to them, not after everything they've been through. Maya had anticipated this obstacle and had been working on alternatives. What if there was another option? She suggested. The community center has a fully accessible apartment usually reserved for visiting program staff. It's currently vacant, and the director has offered it to your family until you're mobile enough to return to your own apartment. Mark looked stunned. An entire apartment? For free? That's not free, Maya corrected gently, understanding his pride. In exchange for your participation in their community outreach planning once you're further along in recovery. Your experience navigating support systems during this crisis is valuable perspective for their program development. It was a creative arrangement Maya had negotiated with the community center director, framing Mark's use of the apartment as a mutually beneficial exchange rather than charity. The center had indeed been looking to incorporate more input from community members who had access services, and Mark's thoughtful nature and direct experience made him an ideal contributor. The apartment is on the ground floor, Maya continued, with wheelchair accessibility and a staff member in the building 24/7 if you need emergency assistance. It's also only 2 blocks from the daycare center, so the girls can maintain their routine. Mark was quiet for a long moment, processing this solution. You've thought of everything, he finally said, his voice thick with emotion. Not everything, Maya admitted. You'll still need help with the girls, with meals, with transportation to medical appointments. But we're working on a volunteer schedule, and I'll do it, came a firm voice from the doorway. Maya turned to find Diane standing there, a determined expression on her face. She hadn't heard the center director arrive. I'm sorry to interrupt, Diane continued, entering the room fully. But I heard the last part of your conversation, and I wanted to present the complete plan to Mark. She approached the bed, nodding a greeting to the twins who were coloring quietly in the corner. Mark, we've developed a comprehensive support system for your family, Diane explained. Maya will reduce her hours at the center temporarily to serve as your family's case manager, coordinating your medical care, the girls' schedules, and the various services you'll need. This is an official position funded through our community outreach grant. Maya stared at her supervisor in surprise. They had discussed possibilities, but Diane hadn't mentioned this specific arrangement. Additionally, Diane continued, we've established a meal delivery rotation among center families who want to help, transportation assistance through the Senior Volunteer Driver Program, and after-school care for the twins at no cost until you're back on your feet. Mark looked overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. It's more than I could have imagined. It's what community looks like at its best, Diane said simply. And when you're recovered, you'll find your own ways to contribute. That's how it works. Maya felt a surge of gratitude toward her supervisor. Diane had taken Maya's piecemeal ideas and recommendations and transformed them into a coherent, sustainable support plan, one that included a defined role for Maya that would allow her to continue supporting the Bennett family while maintaining professional boundaries. The twins, sensing the emotional shift in the room, abandoned their coloring and approached the bed. What's happening? Emma asked, her watchful eyes moving between the adults. Good things, Mark told her, his voice steadier. These wonderful people have found us a special apartment where I can come home to you tomorrow instead of going to another hospital. And they're going to help us while my leg heals. We can be together? Lily asked, her eyes widening with hope. Yes, princess, we'll be together. For the first time since the accident, Maya saw genuine relief in the twins' expressions. Not just temporary reassurance, but a deeper easing of their fundamental fear of separation and loss. The knowledge that they would be reunited with their father, that their small family unit would remain intact despite the challenges ahead, visibly lightened the burden they had been carrying. As Maya drove the twins back to the center that evening, she reflected on the unexpected developments. Diane's intervention had transformed her somewhat improvised support efforts into a structured program with clear boundaries and sustainability. The role of case manager would allow Maya to continue advocating for the Bennett family while maintaining the professional distance necessary for both ethical practice and her own emotional well-being. Ms. Rodriguez? Emma's voice came from the back seat, unusually hesitant. When Daddy comes home tomorrow, will you still help us? The question revealed the twins' lingering anxiety about losing connections and support, a fear born from their experiences of repeated disruption and loss. Yes, Maya assured her, meeting her eyes briefly in the rearview mirror. My job is changing a little bit, actually. Instead of being your teacher at the center, I'll be working directly with your family for a while, helping your dad with appointments and making sure you have everything you need while he gets better. So you'll come to our new apartment? Lily asked, sounding genuinely pleased by the prospect. I will, Maya confirmed. Not all day every day, but regularly. We're creating a whole team of people to support your family during your dad's recovery. Like a new community, Emma said thoughtfully, echoing Maya's earlier explanations. Exactly like that, Maya agreed, touched by the child's understanding. This was the true measure of progress, Maya realized, not just addressing the immediate crisis of food insecurity or housing, but helping the Bennett family rebuild their sense of connection to the broader community. Mark's accident, devastating as it was, had paradoxically accelerated this process, breaking down the walls of pride and isolation that had kept him from fully accepting the support his family needed. The transition to the community center apartment went more smoothly than anticipated. Maya had arranged for the space to be prepared with basic necessities: clean bedding, toiletries, some groceries, and a few toys and books for the twins. A hospital bed was installed in the living room so Mark could avoid navigating to the bedroom until his mobility improved. The twins would share the apartment's single bedroom, an arrangement they preferred anyway. Mark arrived by medical transport late morning, the twins having been excused from school to welcome him home. Maya was present to help with the transition, showing Mark how the apartment had been arranged for maximum accessibility and helping him settle into the hospital bed, while the twins excitedly explored their new temporary home. It's really nice, Lily declared, bouncing on the edge of the twin bed that would be hers. And we can walk to daycare. The kitchen has a hot chocolate machine, Emma added, referring to the pod coffee maker Maya had borrowed from the center's staff room, knowing the twins' fondness for evening hot chocolate with their father. Mark watched his daughter's exploration with visible relief. They're adapting so quickly, he murmured to Maya. Kids are amazing that way. They take their cues from you, Maya observed. Your certainty that this is temporary, that it's a positive step in your recovery. They sense that and respond accordingly. Mark nodded thoughtfully. I'm trying to see it that way myself. A step forward, not a setback. It is forward movement, Maya assured him. This arrangement gives you time to heal properly, without the stress of navigating stairs or being separated from the girls. And the community connections you're building now will remain valuable long after you've recovered. The afternoon was spent establishing routines and reviewing the support schedule Maya had developed. A calendar on the refrigerator detailed which volunteers would be bringing meals each day, when transportation was arranged for medical appointments, and the twin school and daycare schedule. Maya's own visits were clearly marked, daily initially, then gradually reducing in frequency as Mark's independence increased. This is incredibly thorough, Mark commented, reviewing the calendar. You've thought of everything. That's my job now, Maya reminded him with a smile. Official Family Support Coordinator. Lucky us, Mark said softly, his gaze holding hers with an intensity that made Maya momentarily flustered. She busied herself with organizing medication schedules, conscious of the complicated emotions the situation evoked. Her connection to the Bennett family had deepened beyond professional interest into genuine care. For the twins who had first captured her heart with their food hoarding, and for Mark, whose dedication to his daughters despite overwhelming challenges had earned her profound respect. Her new role as case manager would require careful boundary maintenance. She was there to support the family's journey toward stability and independence, not to become emotionally entangled in ways that might ultimately hinder that goal. Yet complete detachment was neither possible nor appropriate. Genuine caring was the foundation of effective support work. As the day progressed, Maya observed the twins gradually relaxing into the new environment. By evening, when she prepared to leave after helping with dinner, a casserole provided by Mrs. Patel, they seemed settled and content, gathered around Mark's bed playing a board game Jennifer had sent from the center. "We're going to be fine," Mark told her quietly as she gathered her things. "Thanks to you. Thanks to many people," Maya corrected gently. "That's the point. You're not alone in this anymore." As she drove home that evening, Maya reflected on the dramatic changes the past 2 weeks had brought. The Bennett family had moved from precarious stability to crisis and now into a new phase of supported recovery. The hungry days that had first alerted Maya to their struggles seemed far away now, replaced by more urgent concerns that had, paradoxically, opened doors to more comprehensive assistance. What remained to be seen was how this intensive support would translate into long-term stability. Mark's physical recovery was just beginning, with months of rehabilitation ahead. The financial implications of his accident were still unfolding, with insurance claims and potential disability benefits still being processed. And the emotional impact on Mark on the twins on their family dynamic was still emerging. Yet Maya felt cautiously optimistic. The foundation had been laid for genuine healing, not just of Mark's physical injuries, but of the deeper wounds the family had carried. The isolation following Caroline's death, the instability of multiple moves, the constant stress of financial precarity. For perhaps the first time since losing their mother, the Bennett twins were experiencing what it meant to be part of a supportive community, to have needs acknowledged and met without judgment. As Maya pulled into her apartment complex, her phone chimed with a text from Mark. "Girls wanted to say goodnight. Thank you again for everything." Attached was a photo of the twins in their pajamas, grinning widely and holding up a hand-drawn sign that read, "Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez." The simple message brought tears to Maya's eyes. Not tears of sorrow this time, but of hope. The journey ahead would not be easy for the Bennett family, but they would not be walking it alone. And that, Maya knew from both professional experience and personal conviction, made all the difference. The weeks following Mark's return from the hospital established new rhythms for the Bennett family. The twins adjusted quickly to the temporary apartment, particularly enjoying their proximity to the daycare center and the small playground just outside the community building. Mark's recovery progressed steadily, moving from complete bed rest to limited mobility with a wheelchair, then to cautious practice with a walker. Maya settled into her role as case manager, visiting daily at first to coordinate medical appointments, assist with the twins' routines, and ensure that volunteer support was functioning smoothly. As Mark's independence increased, she gradually reduced the frequency of her visits, though she remained in regular contact by phone and still accompanied him to important medical consultations. The twins returned to their regular schedule at school and the daycare center, though Maya arranged for them to spend afternoons with their father whenever possible. She noticed positive changes in their behavior, less hoarding of food, more engagement with peers, fewer anxiety symptoms. The stability of their current arrangement, despite its temporary nature, seemed to be healing old wounds. Emma joined the art club at school, Mark reported proudly during one of Maya's visits, 6 weeks after the accident. He was seated in the wheelchair at the kitchen table, reviewing paperwork from his insurance company. First extracurricular activity she's ever shown interest in. "That's wonderful," Maya replied, genuinely pleased. "She has real talent. And Lily? Any new interests for her?" "Butterflies, of all things. Can't get enough books about them from the library." Sarah, our neighbor from the old apartment, Brought her a field guide last weekend, and she's been carrying it everywhere. These developments, normal childhood enthusiasms emerging from beneath the weight of survival concerns, represented significant progress. The twins were beginning to explore interests beyond the immediate needs of their family unit, expanding into the wider world in age-appropriate ways. Mark, too, was showing signs of personal growth beyond his physical recovery. The community center director had made good on the arrangement for Mark to provide input on outreach programs, inviting him to virtual committee meetings he could attend from the apartment. To Mark's surprise, his perspectives were genuinely valued, his experiences navigating multiple support systems providing insights that helped identify gaps and barriers in existing services. They're talking about creating a peer navigator position once the new grant comes through, he mentioned casually to Maya one afternoon. Someone who's been through the system themselves, helping others access resources. Apparently my name came up. Maya looked up from the calendar she was updating. That sounds perfect for you. You'd be exceptional at it. Mark shrugged, though she could see he was pleased by her assessment. It would be part-time initially. I'd still need regular work to supplement it. The delivery company has confirmed they're holding your position, right? Yes, though the doctor says I won't be cleared for that kind of physical work for at least another 2 months. He sighed. The financial implications of his extended recovery, still a source of stress despite the temporary assistance programs. Maya made a note to research additional vocational rehabilitation options. Mark's growing interest in community service work represented a potential path forward, one that might ultimately provide more stability and fulfillment than his previous employment, while still allowing him to support his family. As Maya prepared to leave that day, Mark asked her to wait a moment. With some effort, he maneuvered his wheelchair to the small desk in the corner of the living room and retrieved an envelope. The twins and I wanted to give you this, he said, handing it to her. It's not much, but... Maya opened the envelope to find a handmade card, decorated with the twins' distinctive artistic styles. Emma's precise, detailed drawings alongside Lily's more expressive, colorful contributions. Inside was a photograph of the 3 Bennetts, taken recently in the community center garden. Mark was in his wheelchair, the twins standing on either side of him, all 3 smiling genuinely at the camera. Sarah took it last weekend, Mark explained. It's the first family photo we've had taken since before Caroline got sick. The girls thought you should have a copy. Maya was deeply touched by the gesture. It's beautiful, she said sincerely. You all look so happy. We are, in spite of everything. Mark's expression was thoughtful. That's the strange thing about this whole experience. In some ways, we're in a better place now than before the accident. The girls are thriving with all this community support. We're more connected to people. There's less uncertainty about the future, even with my injury, because we're not facing it alone anymore. His assessment aligned with Maya's own observations. The accident, devastating as it had been, had broken through barriers of isolation and pride that might otherwise have taken years to dismantle. The intensive support mobilized for the crisis had created a foundation for longer-term stability that extended beyond physical and financial assistance to include social connection and emotional well-being. That's often how it works, Maya said. Crisis forces change that might not happen otherwise. The key is building on this foundation once the immediate emergency passes. Mark nodded thoughtfully. I've been thinking about that a lot, about what happens when my leg heals, when we go back to our apartment, when things return to normal. I don't want to lose this sense of connection, this community the girls have found. You won't, Maya assured him. That's what we're building now. Sustainable connections that will continue beyond this temporary situation. As she drove home that evening, Maya reflected on the card and photograph, now propped on her dashboard. The Bennett family's journey had taken unexpected turns since she first noticed the twins hiding food in their pockets. But the trajectory was undeniably positive. From isolation and scarcity to connection and community, from crisis to opportunity, it was the kind of transformation that reminded Maya why she had chosen this work. The hungry days that had first broken her heart now seemed like the beginning of a story moving steadily toward a hopeful conclusion. There would be challenges ahead, certainly, Mark's continued recovery, the eventual transition back to their apartment, the ongoing financial pressures of single parenthood. But the foundation had been laid for facing those challenges with support rather than in isolation. As for Maya herself, her role would continue to evolve. The intensive case management would gradually transition to more standard professional support. Boundaries would be reestablished, new families would require her attention. The unique circumstances that had drawn her so deeply into the Bennett's lives would shift toward more typical professional engagement. Yet something had fundamentally changed for the Bennetts, for the daycare center's approach to family support, and for Maya herself. The simple act of noticing children hiding food, of asking why and truly listening to the answer, had revealed needs that extended far beyond the individuals involved, highlighting gaps in community safety nets and opportunities for more effective intervention. Maya parked outside her apartment building, carefully removing the Bennett family photo from her dashboard. She would frame it for her desk at the center, a reminder of how seemingly small observations could lead to transformative intervention when approached with compassion and persistence. The twins' answer that had brought her to tears weeks ago, "We save it for the hungry days," had opened a door to deeper understanding and more comprehensive support. As Maya had promised Mark, they weren't just addressing the immediate crisis but building a foundation for lasting change. The hungry days were becoming fewer, and in their place, something new was emerging, days of connection, of community, of cautious hope for a future where the Bennett family would have not just enough food, but enough of everything they needed to truly thrive. 2 months after Mark's accident, Maya arrived at the community center apartment for what would likely be one of her final visits in an official capacity. Her temporary assignment as the Bennett family's case manager was drawing to a close as Mark's recovery progressed and more permanent support systems took root. She found him in the small patio area outside the apartment, practicing with his cane under the watchful eyes of the twins. His movements were still cautious but increasingly confident, his dependence on mobility aids diminishing weekly with dedicated physical therapy and home exercises. "Look, Ms. Rodriguez," Lily called out excitedly. "Daddy can walk all the way around the garden now." "That's fantastic progress," Maya replied, genuinely impressed by how far Mark had come since the initial injury. The medical team had initially predicted a longer recovery period, but his determination and consistent effort had accelerated the timeline considerably. "The physical therapist says I might be cleared for part-time work by next month," Mark reported as he carefully lowered himself into a patio chair. "Limited duties, of course, but it's a start." The twins, having demonstrated their father's progress, returned to what appeared to be a butterfly identification project. Lily was consulting her field guide while Emma sketched something in a notebook, their heads bent close together in concentration. "I brought some news," Maya said, taking the chair opposite Mark. "The Housing Authority has approved your application for the accessible unit at Oak Ridge Commons. It's ground floor, no steps, and within the voucher amount, so your out-of-pocket rent will actually be less than your previous apartment." Mark's expression brightened. "That's incredible. When would we move?" "It's available at the beginning of next month. And here's the best part. It's in the same school district, so the girls won't have to change schools." This detail was particularly significant. Throughout his recovery, Mark had expressed concern about disrupting the twins' education again, aware of how their frequent moves after Caroline's death had affected their academic progress and social connections. "You've thought of everything as usual," Mark said, his gratitude evident. "I don't know how we would have navigated all this without you." "That's what case managers do," Maya reminded him gently. "Connect people with resources, advocate when necessary, coordinate services." "Speaking of which, I've compiled a transition folder with all the information you'll need going forward, contact details for continued services, follow-up appointment schedules, application status for longer-term programs." She handed him a carefully organized binder, another step in the gradual transfer of case management responsibilities back to Mark himself as his capacity increased. "This is actually related to what I wanted to discuss with you," Mark said, accepting the binder. "The peer navigator position at the community center. They've offered it to me, starting part-time while I finish recovery, then potentially expanding to full-time with benefits once I'm fully cleared." "Mark, that's wonderful," Maya exclaimed. You'd be perfect for that role. He nodded, a mixture of pride and lingering uncertainty in his expression. It would be a complete career change. Less money initially than delivery work, though the director says there's a clear advancement path as the program grows. But more stability, regular hours, benefits from day one, Maya noted, understanding the practical considerations that weighed heavily for a single parent. And work that aligns with your values and personal experience. That's what I keep coming back to, Mark admitted. The chance to help other families navigate what we've been through. It feels right, meaningful in a way driving packages around never did. And the hours would mean more time with the girls, fewer late nights and weekends. The twins had drifted back toward them, Lily carrying her butterfly guide, Emma her sketchbook. They leaned against their father's chair with the casual physical affection that had blossomed during his recovery period. Their former watchful reserve gradually replaced by more typical childhood behaviors. I was just telling Ms. Rodriguez about the new job opportunity, Mark explained to his daughters. The one where you help people? Emma asked. That's right. What do you think about it? The twins exchanged one of their characteristic glances, though Maya noticed this silent communication occurred less frequently now that they were developing more independent interests and connections. We think you should do it, Lily declared with the certainty of an 8-year-old. You're really good at helping people. And you wouldn't have to carry heavy boxes anymore, Emma added pragmatically. So your leg would stay better. Mark laughed, ruffling their hair affectionately. Those are excellent points. I think I'm going to accept the position. Maya observed this family consultation with quiet satisfaction. The Bennett family dynamics had evolved significantly during Mark's recovery. The twins were still protective of their father but less burdened by adult worries. Mark himself had grown more comfortable accepting support and involving his daughters in age-appropriate discussions rather than shielding them from all concerns. We're having a celebration dinner tonight, Lily announced to Maya, because Daddy walked all the way around the garden. Mrs. Patel is bringing her special lasagna, and we're making rainbow cupcakes. Can you come? The invitation was delivered with such hopeful expectation that Maya momentarily struggled with her response. Her official role was ending. Appropriate professional boundaries would typically mean declining. Yet the transition from intensive support to more typical community connection was precisely the goal they had been working toward. Mark seemed to sense her hesitation. We'd love to have you join us, if you're available, he said. Sarah and Diane are coming too. It's a small thank you gathering for the core support team. Framed this way, as a closure activity marking the transition from crisis intervention to ongoing community connection. Maya felt comfortable accepting. I'd be honored, she said. What time should I arrive? As the twins excitedly shared details about their cupcake plans, Maya noted how much their demeanor had changed from the reserved, watchful children who had first caught her attention with hidden food. They were still aware of adult concerns, evident in Emma's practical comment about heavy boxes affecting her father's recovery, but their awareness no longer carried the weight of responsibility it once had. The conversation shifted to plans for the upcoming move to the accessible apartment, the twins' summer activities, and Mark's preparation for his new role. Throughout, Maya observed the subtle but significant indicators of a family healing on multiple levels, not just Mark's physical recovery, but the rebuilding of security, stability, and joy that had been disrupted by loss and financial hardship. That evening, the small celebration dinner transformed the temporary apartment into a space of genuine warmth and connection. Mrs. Patel's legendary lasagna was accompanied by a colorful salad from Diane and fresh bread from Sarah. The twins' rainbow cupcakes, somewhat lopsided but decorated with exuberant enthusiasm, served as both dessert and centerpiece. As Maya watched Mark navigate the gathering with growing confidence, occasionally using his cane but increasingly comfortable moving unassisted for short distances, she reflected on the journey they had all taken together. From the first discovery of food in pockets to this moment of shared celebration, the path had been neither straight nor easy. Crisis had complicated progress, but had also accelerated healing in unexpected ways. A toast, Diane announced, raising her glass of sparkling cider. To Mark and his remarkable recovery, to Emma and Lily and their resilience, and to the power of community when we truly support one another. And to Maya, Mark added, his gaze meeting hers across the table, who saw what others missed and didn't let it go. The twins nodded emphatic agreement, raising their juice boxes in solemn tribute. To all of us, Maya countered, including everyone in her gesture. Each person in this room played an essential part in this journey. As glasses clinked and conversations resumed, Maya found herself seated beside Mark at the small kitchen table, slightly removed from the others who were admiring the twins' butterfly documentation project in the living room. "I've been meaning to ask you something," Mark said quietly. "Something that's bothered me since the beginning, but I never found the right moment to bring up." Maya nodded encouragingly, curious about his serious tone. "That first day when you asked about the food in the girls' pockets, how did you know? What made you notice when others hadn't?" The question caught Maya by surprise. She considered her answer carefully, aware that her response might reveal more than professional observation. "I recognized the pattern," she finally said. "The careful assessment of the room before hiding food, the methodical wrapping, the strategic choices of items that would keep well. It wasn't casual snack saving. It was survival behavior." Mark's expression tightened. "Because you'd seen it before in other children?" "Partly," Maya acknowledged, "but also because I recognized it from my own childhood." The admission slipped out before she could consider its professional implications. It wasn't something she typically shared with clients, this personal connection to the work she did. Yet in this transitional moment, as the Bennett family moved from crisis intervention to ongoing community connection, perhaps the honesty served a purpose, completing the circle of understanding that had begun with those hidden crackers and apple slices. "After my father left, my mother worked multiple jobs to keep us afloat," Maya continued quietly. "There were times when the money ran out before the next paycheck. My brother and I developed our own strategies, saving food from school lunches, befriending the cafeteria staff who would sometimes slip us extra portions, learning which neighbors might coincidentally have leftovers to share." Mark listened intently, his eyes reflecting recognition of experiences that paralleled his family's struggles. "That's why you didn't just report us to social services," he said, understanding dawning. "You saw the difference between crisis and neglect." Maya nodded. "Food insecurity doesn't make someone a bad parent. Sometimes it makes them a parent who's sacrificing everything, including their own needs, for their children. What I saw in Emma and Lily wasn't fear of you. It was fear for you. They were trying to protect you as much as themselves." "They still do," Mark admitted with a rueful smile. "I find little treats they've saved for me. A cookie from school, a piece of fruit they've set aside. Even now, when we have enough. Old habits take time to fade," Maya said. "But they will, gradually, as security becomes the new normal." "Is that what happened for you?" Maya considered the question, surprised by its personal nature yet finding herself willing to answer. "Eventually, a teacher connected my mother with resources similar to what we've arranged for your family. Changed everything, not overnight, but steadily. My brother and I stopped hoarding food. My mother found more stable employment through the connections she made. We became part of a community instead of struggling in isolation. And you became a teacher who notices children hiding food," Mark observed softly. "A full circle moment," Maya acknowledged with a smile. "Though I'm completing my art therapy certification as well. The creative expression piece has become increasingly important in my work." "The feelings maps," Mark nodded. "The girls still add to them, you know. They asked if they could bring them to the new apartment." Their conversation was interrupted by Lily, who bounded over with excitement. "Ms. Rodriguez, Emma found a picture of the exact butterfly we saw yesterday. Come see." As Maya was led to examine the butterfly identification, she caught Diane watching her interaction with Mark with knowing eyes. Her supervisor had been supportive of Maya's intensive involvement with the Bennett family, while also gently reinforcing appropriate professional boundaries. The celebration dinner marked a transition point, from crisis intervention to the more measured ongoing support that would characterize their relationship moving forward. Later, as the gathering concluded and Maya prepared to leave, Mark walked her to her car, his movements slow but increasingly steady with the cane. "Thank you for coming tonight," he said. "It meant a lot to the girls. To all of us. I wouldn't have missed it," Maya replied sincerely. "Seeing your family's progress is the greatest reward of this work." Mark nodded, his expression thoughtful. "When I first met you, I was so focused on maintaining the appearance of having everything under control. I thought asking for help meant I was failing as a father. And now," Maya prompted gently, "now I understand that connecting with community makes me a better father. Stronger, not weaker." He smiled, the expression reaching his eyes in a way Maya had rarely seen in their early interactions. The girls are thriving with all these positive influences in their lives. They're becoming who they're meant to be, not just survivors of our circumstances. This assessment aligned perfectly with Maya's own observations. The Bennett twins were gradually reclaiming their childhood, developing interests, forming friendships, expressing emotions more freely. The shadows of premature responsibility were lifting, allowing their natural resilience and creativity to flourish. "That's the real measure of success," Maya agreed. "Not just addressing the immediate crisis, but creating space for genuine growth and healing." As she drove home that evening, Maya reflected on the complex journey that had begun with a simple observation of food in pockets. The Bennett family's path from crisis to stability had not been linear, with Mark's accident creating new challenges just as they were beginning to find their footing. Yet that very crisis had ultimately accelerated their integration into a supportive community, breaking down barriers that might otherwise have taken years to dismantle. The hungry days that had first caught Maya's attention were becoming a memory rather than an ongoing reality. In their place was emerging a new narrative, one of resilience, connection, and cautious hope for the future. The twins were learning that security could be reliable, that adults could be trusted to meet their needs, that their own childhood needs deserved priority. Mark, too, was discovering new possibilities, a career path that valued his lived experience, a support network that respected his dignity while addressing practical needs, a way forward that honored Caroline's memory while embracing new connections. And Maya herself had been changed by the experience, reminded of the profound impact that thoughtful intervention could have, challenged to balance professional boundaries with genuine caring, reconnected to the personal experiences that had drawn her to this work in the first place. Tomorrow, she would return to her primary role at the daycare center, focusing once again on the broader group of children in her care. The Bennett family would continue their journey toward independence, with Maya's support transitioning to more typical professional engagement. Yet something fundamental had shifted in how she understood her work and its potential impact. Those crackers and apple slices hidden in small pockets had revealed a family's struggle, but also their remarkable strength and love for one another. Maya's tears at their revelation had been just the beginning of a powerful journey of connection and healing, not just for the Bennett family, but for the entire community that had mobilized to support them. The hungry days were fading, and in their place, something beautiful was growing. A future where Emma and Lily Bennett would remember this challenging time not just as one of hardship, but as the period when they discovered the strength of community, the reliability of care beyond their immediate family, and the power of being truly seen and understood. As Maya arrived home, she carefully placed the transition binder for the Bennett family on her desk, alongside the framed photograph of Mark and the twins from the community garden. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new families needing support, new opportunities to notice what others might miss. But tonight, she would rest in the knowledge that one family's hungry days were ending, and a season of healing had truly begun.